to cross-examine witnesses and to ask questions, supplementary questions, when you go the committee way. Lastly, there was a question that was raised here, Honorable Speaker, on the involvement of our nominated colleagues in decision-making when it comes to this particular issue. And in my view, it is something that you can also give your view. The nominated senators get a greater opportunity to make decision or participate in the decision-making when they are members of the committee as opposed to plenary. Because at plenary, they all know only the elected senators will get to vote. Finally, Honorable Speaker, when I look at the colleagues who have been nominated to this particular committee, the Honorable Sigei, who is the chair of the Legal Affairs Committee, my chair of Energy, Honorable Matinga, Abdul Haji, who is a member of the Speaker's panel, and Wafula, our colleague, Gloria Orwoba, and of course the senators from our side, Honorable Shakila, Honorable Montet, Eddie, Isa, and Honorable Senator Bitis Ogola. I have all the faith, Honorable Speaker, that this team of 11 can be able to execute this particular assignment on behalf of the House. I want to lastly join my colleague, Senator Olekina, in saying there is no other influence other than the evidence and the allegations that are going to bear on the decision of this House when we sit to determine this matter. So people should stop sending us messages. Honorable Speaker, I don't understand why people are sending us messages from Meru, from all sides, telling us, oh, this is so and so, this is so and so.
Senator Mundigi. Order, Honorable Senator.
Asante, Bwana Speaker. Katika Kenya kuna county inaitwa Meru County na iko na wapiga kura 1800. Bwana Speaker, leo sio siku ya kwanza ya kuongea mambo ya Meru. Leo ni siku ya 3. Nasangaa sana watu nikisikia watu wakisema twende watu 11. Kenya yote katika county 47 inaangalia vile tutaamua hii kesi ya Meru. Kwa sababu ya kipindi ya miaka 2 watu wa Meru wamehangaika, wameumia. Sio safari ya kwanza Gavana Kawira kuletwa hapa, hii ni mara ya 3. Tulisema wakati wa pili tulimpatia onyo tukamwambia aende angalie. Katika Biblia 1:18 njoo tusemesane, waende waongee na makanisa, waongee na MP na MCA, waweze kusemesana, waweze kuona vile watasaidia county ya Meru. Sasa ni safari ya 3. Ningeomba mimi kama Senator wa Embu County naunga mkono tuweze kwenda kusikiza Kawira tukiwa maseneta 67, kwa sababu ni watu tuko na unjuzi wa kuamua aidha Kawira amefanya makosa mara ya 3 ama hajafanya. Kwa sababu sioni vile our MCA kila dakika usiku na mchana wanaweza kuwa wanakelea Kawira. Mpaka tuangalie vile itakuwa kama amefanya makosa atimuliwe na seneta 67. Kama hajafanya makosa arudishwe.
Honorable Senators, order. Senator Mundigi. Now, Senators, Honorable Senators, in my message that I read to you, and I want to believe that Senator Mundigi was in the House when I was passing that message. Our contribution should be limited on whether or not we should go the committee way. Leave Meru out of this debate for now. Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know what the excitement is about. Mr. Speaker, I stand to oppose the motion on the appointment of a select committee to handle the impeachment of the governor of Meru. Mr. Speaker, for a good reason. You know, the Senate does not exist in a vacuum. We live in a society, and we have ears, we listen. We hear what people are saying, we see what is happening. Mr. Speaker, the matter of the impeachment of the governor of Meru has attracted immense interest beyond Meru, beyond the eastern region. It would be better, Mr. Speaker, that everybody gets to see the proceedings on the floor of the Senate. And as this happens, Mr. Speaker, I want to borrow from the case of O.J. Simpson. And the jury said, if the gloves fit, if they do not fit, you acquit. If the gloves fit, you convict. The Speaker, guided by the evidence and facts that shall be brought here on the plenary, that decision will be made. I vote for the plenary.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to stand to oppose this motion. Honorable Speaker, we've had over 10 impeachments for the last 10 years. And out of those, Senator Kawira is coming here for the third time. The first time, it went committee way, and it was chaired by His Excellency, the future governor, and now Senator Boni Khalwale. The second one went plenary way, and this one also should go the plenary way, simply because the Kenyans are looking at the Senate now, and we want to participate fully. And I want to take this opportunity to completely disagree with Senator, Nairobi Senator. Nairobi Senator referred to this house as mostly empty. You can find only 3 people. I think if the 3 people are found here, Senator Nairobi wouldn't be here because he's always also absentee. Let him not pretend to be being here. So, Honorable Speaker, I support the plenary way. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I oppose the motion simply because I believe, having been around for some time now, I have experience of both committee and plenary way. If I might give a very good example of a committee that actually brought down a senator in this country, when we went committee way, it was during the impeachment of former Nyeri governor. I sat in that committee. We went very well up to the end. The last minute, we were actually 2 members who were left supporting the impeachment. And when it came to the House, the senator was really devastated. And he ended up even losing his seat because it really touched him. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, this Meru matter is very serious. It's not a matter of people saying plenary or committee way. It's a matter that is affecting seriously Meru people. And we must look at it critically, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe if we go plenary way, Meru County will be able to see what is happening at the impeachment of their governor. But if it goes committee way, sometimes they might not even watch to see what transpires at the committee level. Mr. Speaker, having been around for some time, participated in both plenary and committee, I fully support plenary. I thank you.
Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I join my colleagues that feel we should go the plenary way because, Mr. Speaker, we have been able to prosecute impeachment matters here at least twice in plenary, Mr. Speaker. The last time Governor Kawira was brought here, we went the plenary way and we were able to make a decision to retain her as governor of Meru County. Mr. Speaker, later on, impeachment proceedings of the former deputy governor for Kisii were brought here, and the plenary was able to impeach that deputy governor, Mr. Speaker. What am I driving at? I'm just trying to say, Mr. Speaker, that this House has been able to prove itself that it can impeach, and it can also stop an impeachment depending on the evidence that is tabled before this House, Mr. Speaker. And so, the competency or otherwise of the plenary, Mr. Speaker, has already been proven. Mr. Speaker, the other reason that makes me feel that I need to support plenary proceedings on this matter, plenary was able to impeach that deputy governor, Mr. Speaker. What am I driving at? I'm just trying to say, Mr. Speaker, that this House has been able to prove itself that it can impeach, and it can also stop an impeachment depending on the evidence that is tabled before this House, Mr. Speaker. And so, the competency or otherwise of the plenary, Mr. Speaker, has already been proven. Mr. Speaker, the other reason that makes me feel that I need to support plenary proceedings on this matter is the fact that it also affords senators, all senators, an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to kind of have some training on how to carry out these impeachment proceedings, Mr. Speaker. And some of the evidence that will be tabled here by the County Assembly of Meru, Mr. Speaker, would also maybe has a bearing on what happens in our counties also. And so, Mr. Speaker, this will be an eye-opener to all senators so that they can be able to see what transpires in counties, the things that happens in counties, good or otherwise, Mr. Speaker. And so I think, and I strongly feel that we should give every senator an opportunity to be able to participate in these proceedings so that they can get training and they can be able to see whether there is a bearing on what will be brought here and what happens to our counties, Mr. Speaker. And so I stand here to propose, not to propose, Mr. Speaker, but to support the idea of having plenary. By that, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the motion on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Vihiga and Deputy Party Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing my new role as the Deputy Party Leader of the Orange Democratic Movement. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak as a Senator of Vihiga and not the DPL of ODM. Mr. Speaker, the motion is for us to either agree to a plenary or a committee. Whereas, Mr. Speaker, I fully agree with the members who are saying we go the plenary way, but there is a small problem, Mr. Speaker, that we know very well the outcome of a committee is usually a report. And that report, Mr. Speaker, having seen some of the reports that have come out of committees, they go beyond just the question of impeachment or not impeachment. The situation of Meru, Mr. Speaker, is a very complex one that requires serious thinking, because we don't want to make a decision and then again next time we are also told to also deal with the same issue of Meru. My view would be, Mr. Speaker, that there may be instances where we need to look at the provisions of Article 192 of the Constitution, whether to suspend this county and we send everyone home or not. And that can be dealt effectively in a committee in a report which can now be sent to the President for action as per the provisions of Article 192. Our standing orders are limited because they don't allow us to produce a report which can now be sent to the President for action. So I want to urge members, I know that the plenary way is the most popular one, but the most effective one in these circumstances is the committee way. So I want to ask you, members, that we agree to support the committee way because it is going to help us deal with this problem of Meru once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Murango.
Asante sana mstahiki Spika. Ya kwanza ningetaka kusema ya kwamba moja ya jukumu ambalo bunge la Seneti huwa imepewa na ni jukumu ambalo halijapewa bunge la kitaifa ni kuangalia malalamiko baada ya gavana kung'atuliwa. Na kwanza ndio maana nasimama hapa siku ya leo na nataka kupinga mswada uliowasilishwa leo hii ya kwamba tuende nje ya kamati, na ningesema kwamba tuende bunge nzima la county liweze kukaa kitako na kuvalia njuga jambo hili. Mstahiki Speaker, ningetaka pia kupingana na msemo ambao umesemwa na Senator Vihiga ya kwamba kuna mambo tunafaa kuangalia.
Senator Olekina Nosoti, take your seat, please.
Mstahiki Speaker, pia ningependa pia kutoa kauli kulingana na mapendekezo za Senator Vihiga Otsosi kwamba tunafaa kuangalia kama tunaweza vunja kaunti nzima. Ningetaka kumwambia kwamba panya akiingia kwa gala, uchomi gala unatoa panya. Kwa hivyo mstahiki Speaker, mimi naunga mkono tuvalie njuga swala hili mpaka mwisho. Asante sana mstahiki Speaker.
Senator Ogola Beatrice. Senator Akinyi. Senator Beth Siengwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to oppose the motion for the following reasons. Mr. Speaker, in this House we are 67 of us, and we are unique, and each of us process information differently. We need the matter to be brought to the plenary so that each of us will process the information, the evidence provided, and will make a very good decision about Meru County. Mr. Speaker, it has been 5 times the governor of Meru has been impeached. We must bring this issue to an end because Meru needs to have services. Meru needs to move forward like the rest of the counties. The second reason, Mr. Speaker, I really want to appreciate the committee members who have been appointed, and it is good. And they are good senators. But, Mr. Speaker, Meru people and the entire country has interest on this issue. What is it so special about Meru? And everybody wants to hear, to see, and know what has been ailing Meru County. The third reason, Mr. Speaker, is I oppose the motion and support the plenary way is because as a leader of women in this nation, Mr. Speaker, the women, the children, they are interested in this issue of Meru. And they want to see whether it is this specific governor for Meru who is failing, or it is then issues that can be addressed by other women who are giving themselves for leadership in this nation. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the motion and hold and support my colleagues who have said we go the plenary way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sigei. Senator Wakili.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to oppose the motion to establish a committee. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that I stand a chance to chair this committee of impeachment. However, the interest of the people of Meru and the interest of the entire House is paramount. I therefore, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fact that the honorable members who have been nominated to that particular committee are great leaders, great senators. They can give us the best decision that we can ever have. I still believe that the best to serve the people of Meru in this particular motion is to have this matter dealt with by the plenary. And I know that the honorable senator from Narok, because Mr. Speaker, I sit in the SBC, he's raised concerns regarding a bit of trolling that has already occurred. The only and the best way to serve that particular concern is to ensure that the whole House deals with this matter. And Mr. Speaker, I therefore oppose the motion. Thank you.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute. I rise to oppose the motion. Mr. Speaker, I think this matter should be heard in plenary for the reason that it is more serious than we even think it is. It is a precedent-setting matter because Governor Kawira is being brought. It's actually the 5th time, but the 3rd time in the House. It is important, particularly during this time in the country, that we operate very transparently, we discuss the issues very transparently, that every senator is given an opportunity to contribute to the allegations from an informed point of view. Mr. Speaker, I suggest that every senator prepare properly and read as you have guided. Let us be guided by the Constitution and the law. Let us ensure that we deliver justice in this matter to whichever of the groups that are coming. Mr. Speaker, as we do so, I would want to request that you pay attention to something Senator Sifuna has raised. Senator Sifuna raises the fact that the plenary may inhibit the participation of everybody. I want to make a request that as we discuss, that we pay attention to the fact that nominated members are also capable of contributing to this debate, even if they are not going to vote. So I would suggest that we manage the time in such a way that even nominated senators are given ample time to contribute to this debate. So I suggest that the last time we did, as a few of us really tried to put our hands, but were not able to contribute. I know it may have been because of time, but I'm just putting that out there, that we consider that the House is made of 67. I therefore support the plenary, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to join my colleagues in opposing this particular motion. Honorable Speaker, if you remember the last 2 impeachment motions that we had, the one for Kawira and the one for the Deputy Governor for Kisi, they were done in the plenary. And Honorable Speaker, the members, senators were able to follow the substantiation of the allocations, Honorable Speaker, and we made our own decisions in the 2 impeachments, Honorable Speaker. I have also experience, Honorable Speaker, of the committee way. We did for the Deputy Governor for Shire, and I want to confess, Honorable Speaker, that we deliver more justice when we do it in the plenary, because most of all the senators would be able to follow each allocation, Honorable Speaker, and give very informed decision. Honorable Speaker, this is a very difficult time for the Meru people, and I believe they want to follow keenly how the 2 parties will substantiate or will defend themselves, Honorable Speaker, on the allocation, so that us as senators we make decisions. I believe there must be also another way, Honorable Speaker, that members or anybody can go and petition, so that if they are dissatisfied with what we will have done as senators, the county could be dissolved, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I oppose and I support the plenary way, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion, which I oppose. Mr. Speaker, this is a very sensitive and delicate matter where the governor has been brought here 3 times. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason why I oppose committee way is because all Kenyans will be following what will be happening in this house. And so it is very important for it to be in plenary so that everyone can follow, even the Meru people can follow clearly what will be spoken here by all the lawyers and from the governor and from the county, and also how the senators will interrogate the matter. Mr. Speaker, I oppose and I say this should be the plenary way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wamatinga. Senator Sifuna, what is your point of order?
Honorable Chair, I didn't want to shout over my colleague from Machakos, but I thought she was misleading the public by creating the impression that somehow, if a matter is dealt with in committee, the public cannot follow. In fact, it is a requirement of the Constitution that Parliament and all its committees, in their proceedings, allow the public to be able to follow. And in fact, even impeachments that have been done by committee, there was still live coverage of those proceedings and they were open to the public. So I thought, Honorable Speaker, that that was a misleading statement.
Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also rise to oppose the motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that I appear in the list, but in the new spirit of a broad-based engagement, or the new spirit of the broad-based and inclusive approach, I think that it would be paramount, it would be very important that we include everybody so that the Kenyans' thinking captures the mood in the country, and the mood in the country, Mr. Speaker, is a broad-based approach of everything that includes everybody, brings everybody on board, so that we can also enlist ourselves and the engagement and the debate and the engagement with the county government and the governor with the diversity of the members who sit in this house. Mr. Speaker, sir, committee way is also a very, very effective way. But there is this narrative now, based on the new mood, that larger and bigger is better. And that's why you see, Mr. Speaker, we have decided also to include the members of the other side into the government so that we can be seen to not only be accommodative, but to capture the spirit of the Gen Zs, which includes tribalists and headdress, and most importantly, where everybody is included. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, what we are discussing here is provided for under the standing orders of this House, procedure for removal of a governor, that is standing order number 80. And Mr. Speaker, when you read that standing order, it does clarify 2 scenarios for which an outcome of conversation with the committee would come. And that is under 84. It says that when a committee decision or outcome comes as a governor stands impeached, then the matter shall rest there. But when otherwise, the governor, when the committee decides that there was no substantiation for the governor to be impeached, the matter rests at that. But if otherwise the governor is impeached, the House then gets a chance to further interrogate each of those charges for which the impeachment was executed. Now, I want to call this House to either think about ourselves as senators or think about the people of Meru as the people of Meru. And I'm not talking about this because I have been suggested to be in the committee. I'm talking about this because the people of Meru, if we are not careful, will go through 5 years of never getting the service for which the counties was intended. We must call ourselves to order, and we must call ourselves as senators to ask ourselves, do we want to be involved in this process, or do we want to be engaged in this process? An engagement process is just like a plate of bacon and eggs. If you look at a plate of bacon and eggs, the chicken is just involved.
You're looking very good.
But the pig is committed. In the sense that for us to get justice of the people of Meru, I believe that we must go the committee way, where if we go to the committee, we can interrogate these matters, not only to make a decision whether the governor is standing impeached or otherwise, but to be able to give a proper provision for which we can get a lasting solution for Meru people. And that will come in a more engaged pattern that allows this house to be informed on broad-based issues within Meru, not broad-based issues within this parliament or within this house. So therefore I support the committee way to go and interrogate and come back to this house. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Meru.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. This particular house in this matter concerning impeachment has gone full cycle. We have seen this committee deal with this matter, this house deal with this matter the committee way. We have also seen this house deal with the matter on plenary. And Honorable Speaker, even though I have been a very ardent supporter of committee, because I feel that they are able to look at the matters more closely, just as Senator Sifuna said, this matter is too weighty to be left on the shoulders of 11 members. If anything, Honorable Speaker, even the members that have been proposed to be in that committee, already themselves, they are not even willing. They have said that they don't even support the committee way, including the proposed chairman, Honorable Sigei, Honorable Speaker. But more substantively, Honorable Speaker, there are two matters that I think inform my own decision of not supporting the committee way. Number one, this is not the first time that you are dealing with the matter of the impeachment of the governor of Meru. It is actually the third time, as you have correctly put it. We as senators have already voted on this matter in the past. How certain are we, Honorable Speaker, that the people of Meru or the governor of Meru will get justice if we just have 11 of us, some who have voted on this matter, some who have not voted on this matter, if the people of Meru or even the governor of Meru will be able to get justice. So I feel that the justice will be served to the people of Meru and the governor of Meru if we look at this matter in the whole house. The second matter, Honorable Speaker, and I would actually wish that I get your direction and I get your ruling on this particular matter, because Article 123 that talks about our voting, each county delegation shall have one vote to be cast on behalf of the county by the head of the delegation or in the absence of the head of the delegation by another member of the delegation. Honorable Speaker, looking at the membership of this particular committee, I have tremendous respect to all the members that have been proposed in this committee. One of the members is actually a member of my own committee. I know her ability, I know her capability. But, Honorable Speaker, I am inclined to imagine and think that this power that has been given to the head of delegation and can only be used by a member of that delegation when the head of delegation is not there. If these 5 out of 11 nominated members vote on this particular matter and they negate this particular motion, how will I, as a head of that delegation, get an opportunity to vote on this matter? It is on that matter, Honorable Speaker, that I actually feel that you need to give. I have respect, Honorable Speaker, to our nominated colleagues, Honorable Speaker. They are able, they are willing. But when the matter shall come before this House, when we shall be voting, Honorable Speaker, they will contribute. Honorable Muma has said that they want to contribute on this motion. They will contribute. But in terms of making that decision, it shall be made by the 47 delegations. I will only vote, and a member of my delegation.
Senator Kamau Joseph Githuk.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka nichukue nafasi niweze kuchangia katika mjadala huu ambao zaidi unahusisha sana watu wa kaunti ya Meru. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niweze kusimama na kupinga mswada huu na kusema kwamba itakuwa sio mzuri, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuachia watu 11
waweze kuamua hatima ya watu wa Meru, ikizingatiwa kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika ni mara ya 3 gavana huyu ameletwa hapa katika bunge hili. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa niseme ya kwamba jambo hili linafaa liwachiwe bunge lizima la Senate liweze kuamua. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu 67 wa senators 67 wataweza kuamua jambo hili kwa kina na kuliangalia kwa njia ambayo itaweza kuponya wakazi wa kaunti ya Meru. Mheshimiwa Spika, siku ambayo tutakuwa tukisikiza mambo ambayo Kawira Mwangaza, governor wa Meru, ameweza kuwekelewa kwamba amefanya, itakuwa ni jambo ambalo litakuwa linaangaziwa ulimwengu mzima na Kenya nzima. Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa inaangalia ikingojea kuona uamuzi wa Senate hii na bunge hili litakavyoamua. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naunga mkono ya kwamba bunge hili lizima la Senate liweze kuachiwa jambo hilo la kuamua mambo ya governor ya Kawira Mwangaza na watu wa Meru waweze kupata haki. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi napinga mswada huo.
Senator Chirange.
Clarification.
Senator Boni, what is your clarification you're seeking?
Mr. Speaker, it is now on record that 4 out of 11 senators on this committee have opposed and therefore technically withdrawn. It would be useful for you to make a ruling on whether in this kind of motion, if this eventuality is reached, does it mean the motion has been lost, or would we still go on and still vote on it, assuming that the motion sails through and 4 senators have already technically withdrawn? What are we voting for? Mr. Speaker, could you guide us that by default, therefore, it means the motion has collapsed?
Honorable Boni, I've listened very carefully to each one of you who've stood to make a contribution to this motion. And I've not had any of the senators who spoke withdrawing. You can give your opinion, but once the House passes the motion, then at that particular time, you may withdraw. Senator Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the champion of plenary proceedings under 3rd schedule of the standing orders, I am one of the happiest men, Mr. Speaker. Finally, I have been vindicated in many fronts, even including broad-based issues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree when you look at 3rd schedule, the formation either by plenary of impeachment of a governor at page 216 of the standing orders or by committee, it is almost the same. In fact, when you look word by word, but we are now subsuming ourselves into a quasi-judicial mechanism, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, all of us will assume the role of being a judge. And therefore, it is important so that all of us can learn. Mr. Speaker, under Article 118 of the Constitution, there is what we call public participation or parliamentary proceedings. When we go for plenary, the people of Meru, the governor, the MCS, Kenyans at large will be able to watch the proceedings in an open and transparent manner. I am not casting aspersions on the proceedings of the committees. It is supposed to be open, Mr. Speaker. It is supposed to be open, and it is open as per Article 118 of the Constitution 2010, Mr. Speaker. But to avoid being salamiwad by the Gen Z, Mr. Speaker, it is better nowadays to put things on the open. Because committees sometimes in the nature, Mr. Speaker, can sometimes escape the attention of the public, Mr. Speaker. I agree, Mr. Speaker, the issues of Meru are very unique, complex, and diverse, Mr. Speaker. We cannot kneel over under Article 192 on suspension of county of Meru. Meru is working. Some parts of Meru are not working, Mr. Speaker. And I want to remind the deputy party leader of ODM, and I want to advise the Secretary General of ODM to organize an induction at Kenya School of Government, the way Akina Joe and the rest have been done for the last 2 weeks, so that he understands, Mr. Speaker, we don't have a functional IEBC at the moment, Mr. Speaker. The NADCO report, the amendments of IEBC, we are still considering, Mr. Speaker. So the suspension under Article 192, we should not envisage, because we have opportunity to listen, Mr. Speaker, to be able to ventilate through and be able to have a chance. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell the committee members who are proposed, we love you, but plenary loved us most. So we wish you well and we'll appoint you. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I oppose the motion.
Senator Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is simply, Mr. Speaker, saying that I support the plenary. Much has been said. I may just want to request, Mr. Speaker, if you can actually recommend the report be captured later by relevant committees. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Abbas.
Chairman, devolution.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to oppose the motion that it will be fair for the people of Meru at least to hear each and everybody of this House opinion. And according to Article 961, the Senate is obligated to be able to protect the interests of everybody in Kenya. And I think if you have the entire senators in this House to interrogate and to ask questions, I think there will be more opinions that will be reached, and there will be fair hearing for everybody, both sides of the divide, that is the governor in question, and the members of the assembly, and the public at large. Honorable Speaker, it's a very unfortunate situation. As the chair of the devolution, we have tried our best to intervene in this matter. That members visited there, we created dialogue. Many questions have been promised that this will be the end. That time when we visited, that this will be the end of the day of that matter. But however, it still continues, and the Meru people are not enjoying their rights and whatever the development they have got. In that matter, I wish to support the motion. I want to oppose the motion, and I will propose that we go the plenary way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gataya Munda, Tharaka Nithi.
Honorable Speaker, Meru is bleeding. Meru County is bleeding, Honorable Speaker. This is a very sensitive matter. It's no longer about Meru, it's about the whole country. Kenya is watching all of us. You know, as a House, we must be able to prosecute this matter away from the committee, and I strongly oppose the motion that we should not take the committee route. Let's go the plenary way so that maybe people can see openly what we are doing to make sure that Meru is safe. We don't have a repeat of the same again. So I oppose, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Seki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to oppose the motion and suggest the option of going plenary way, Honorable Speaker, so that we give chance to the Meru people and the country, the entire country, to understand and even to follow the proceedings, so that we uphold the transparency way, and even for them to understand how and why this governor is coming the third time to this House. Honorable Speaker, I stand to oppose the motion.
Senator Karen Nyamu. Senator Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is not right for members who are trying to invalidate the committee way, yet the third schedule of our standing orders, Mr. Speaker, provide for both the removal by committee and removal by plenary, Mr. Speaker. And so it is not right to say before this House or indicate or imply that one way is more legal or better in any way than the other. And Mr. Speaker, it is not true that this House, the whole House, will not participate in the removal or saving of the governor, Mr. Speaker, because finally when the committee is done with the report, it will be brought here for debate and the final vote by these members, Mr. Speaker. The issue of Meru, I agree, is one that has elicited a lot of interest of the country. It is true, it is the 5th time she's being impeached. It is the 3rd time she's coming before the Senate. But, Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we should be given the opportunity to interrogate these issues and get to the bottom of it, Mr. Speaker. However, reading the mood of the House, I want to agree with the majority of the members that we go the plenary way, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Chimera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I strongly oppose this motion in total, Mr. Speaker, for 3 fundamental reasons, Mr. Speaker. The first reason is that as the Senate, we are a house of order, we are a house of procedure, and we are a house of precedent, Mr. Speaker. I am. Please, I hope you've reserved my time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as to the question of Meru County, this very House, Mr. Speaker, has set precedent, Mr. Speaker. Every time the governor of Meru has come before us facing such charges, Mr. Speaker, we've always gone plenary. Why do you want, I think for 2 times, Mr. Speaker, we've gone plenary. Why then do you want to go? Let me withdraw that, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable. Proceed.
Let me go to my second point, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
The second point, Mr. Speaker, is on the contribution by Senator Meru.
What is the point of order, Senator Eddy? Is it point of order or point of information?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Just on a statement of fact, 105. Mr. Speaker, the governor of Meru has been brought to this house twice. The first time, Mr. Speaker, actually the senator for Kakamega, Senator Boni Alwale, chaired the committee that actually looked at these issues. And it was the second time that we were in a plenary session. So it is wrong to inform the House that the two times the governor has been here, it has been taken to the committee. So just correct that, Mr. Speaker. On
Proceed, Senator Chimera.
Well get it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to say Article 123, Mr. Speaker, and my colleague Senator Meru has ably spoken about it. You can't tell us that if Chimera today is a special elected member, can vote for the impeachment of a governor at the committee stage, yet the same member cannot vote for the impeachment of a governor at plenary stage, Mr. Speaker, and still go ahead and nominate 5 members to that committee, Mr. Speaker. I feel this is double standards in way of application of this standing order, Mr. Speaker, and I want to urge this House and the leadership, perhaps there is need to relook at this provision before I probably come with a court order, and I hope I won't go there, Mr. Speaker. But then again, if Article 145, Article 7, Mr. Speaker, allows me to impeach the President, Mr. Speaker, I don't understand why then I can't impeach a governor at plenary, but I'm allowed to impeach the governor or not at committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thirdly, is that this issue is very weighty, Mr. Speaker. The governor for Meru is appearing before us for the 3rd time, Mr. Speaker. And to really urge my colleague senators to be very fair and to do the right thing, Mr. Speaker. Let us allow every senator in this House to have an opportunity to listen to these charges and contribute to this, Mr. Speaker, and make a very informed decision, Mr. Speaker, as to the either removal or confirming of those, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago. Senator Mandago. Senator Mutinda Tabitha. Senator Olekina, how can you raise on a point of order? He has long concluded his remarks. Proceed, Senator Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do rise, Mr. Speaker, to, of course, oppose this particular motion, Mr. Speaker. And one of the key reasons, Mr. Speaker, as to my opposing is the fact that I've looked at the list of the 11 members, Mr. Speaker, and I just noted, as Senator Chimera has put it correctly, 5 of the members did not have an opportunity to vote last time. 4 of the members voted for the impeachment of the governor, and 2 of the members saved the governor Mr. Speaker. And actually, for the governor, this committee will not be very fair to her. And the only best fair would be the plenary for the governor, whereby everyone will have an opportunity to listen to the governor.
There is a point of order, Senator Mutembei.
Mr. Speaker, I don't like standing on this point of orders, Mr. Speaker, but it is under 101, Mr. Speaker. It is so wrong for a member of this House to cast aspersions on the integrity of the members of this House, Mr. Speaker. We cannot have names that are proposed in this list, and one senator stands and says that those members will not be fair to the process, to the government, to the people of Meru, Mr. Speaker. The Senator Mutinda from Nairobi, or I don't know whether it's Nairobi or Kitui now, but Senator Mutinda must be called to order, Mr. Speaker, and she must withdraw that statement and apologize to the whole House for throwing that aspersion to the members of this committee.
Senator Mutinda, that point of order is sustained. You may have to proceed to withdraw that particular averment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I withdraw and proceed stating that I believe that the plenary will be able to give our people of Meru more justice, more bigger hearing than the plenary way.
Senator Mutinda, you're still on the edge, and you risk going down the cliff. What you're saying is, are you saying the committee way cannot give justice to the people of Meru? Just proceed and conclude.
Yes, allow me to conclude and say and request that during the plenary session, Mr. Speaker, I would really request that colleagues will be in the House, will be able to maximize the allegations that have been presented before this House, so that we can maximally be able to give the Meru people a fair hearing and also a final justice as far as this particular matter is concerned.
Order, Senator Fernandez. May the Senator be heard in silence, please. Proceed, Senator Mutembei.
And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I just looked at the former governors and deputy governors who've been gone through impeachment, and most of them, apart from the governor of Embu, Governor Wambora, who appeared before this House twice, it's only Governor Kawira who seems to be making history in this House by appearing for the third time. And so plenary will be the fairest way for the people of Meru to be able to get justice and hope settle this matter once and for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Rachel Morgo Julius. Senator Miraj.
Asante mstahiki Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii, na mimi nasimama kuunga mkono ili kikao hiki kiwe cha maseneta wale 11 waliochaguliwa, kwa sababu wale ambao hawakuweza kuchaguliwa na wananchi wataweza kupata fursa ya kutoa kauli zao, kwa sababu tutakapoingia katika kuweza kukisikiza kikao hichi kwa pamoja, sisi kama wawakilishi ambao tumetumwa na vyama vya kisiasa hatupati fursa ya kupiga kura na sauti yetu huwa haisikiki. Kwa hakika watu wa Meru wamekuwa katika mtihani mkubwa, na ili masuala yao yasikizwe kwa ufasaha zaidi. Nasema hivi kwa sababu niliweza kukaa katika kikao kama hichi cha Siaya, gatuzi ya Siaya, na kwa kweli tulipokuwa katika kamati ya watu 11 nilipata fursa nyingi sana za kuweza kuuliza maswali kwa undani. Mara ya mwisho tulipokuwa tumeketi hapa kwa pamoja kama kikao cha seneti na maseneta 67, niliweza kupata fursa moja tena ya madakika kidogo kuweza kuuliza swali katika mjadala uliokuwa unaendelea. Kwa hivyo mimi kama seneta wa Mombasa ningependekeza na kumuunga mkono Seneta Sifuna ili tuweze kuachia majukumu haya wale 11 waliochaguliwa ili waweze kuenda kusikiliza kesi ya watu wa Meru na haki ipatikane. Asante.
Take your seat, honorable senators. We'll proceed to put the question. Honorable Senator Omtata Okoit, take your seat, please. Honorable senators, I will now proceed to put the question. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on Thursday, the 8th of August 2024, the Meru County Assembly approved a motion to remove from office by impeachment Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. And further, whereas by a letter reference MCA/Res/Volume 4/79, dated the 9th of August 2024, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 9th of August 2024, the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b) of the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b), the Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising the following senators. 1. Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, MP. 2. Senator Abdul Haji, MP. 3. Senator Wahome Wamatinga, MP. Senator David Wafula, MP. Senator Gloria Oroba, MP. Senator Karen Nyamu, MP. Senator Boy Isa Juma, MP. Senator Eddie Okech, MP. Senator Shakila Abdallah, MP. Senator Beth Montet, MP. And Senator Beatrice Akinyi, MP, to investigate the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County, and pursuant to Standing Order 82, to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Governor to have been substantiated. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it. Order, honorable senators, order. Order. Senator Mundegi, take your seat. Senator Fernandi, the motion is lost. What more do you want from that? No. Now, honorable senators, as you may have noticed, the majority leader moved the motion at order number 8 on today's order paper for the establishment of a special committee to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. The motion has been negatived. Honorable Senators, as I communicated earlier by way of a message on the resolution of the Meru County Assembly made on Thursday, 8th of August 2024, for the removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County, Section 33(3)(a) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b) of the Senate provide that the Senate may, by resolution, appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter or investigate the matter in plenary. The motion having been negatived, the route of a special committee is abandoned, and that now implies that the Senate will investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County, in plenary, pursuant to Section 33(3)(a) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81B2. Honorable Senators, at its meeting held today, Wednesday the 14th of August 2024, the Senate Business Committee considered the provisional dates for this investigation in the event that the matter was to be investigated in plenary. In line with the schedule of activities for impeachment, hearing, and plenary, I hereby give you the following directions. 1. The clerk to issue invitations to appear to the parties on Wednesday, 14th of August 2024. So the notice will be issued today. The parties to file their responses with the office of the clerk of the Senate by Saturday, the 17th of August 2024 by 5 p.m. 3. The clerk to circulate documents received from the parties, including the plenary hearing program, to all honorable senators by close of business on Sunday, the 18th of August 2024 by 5 p.m. 4. The Senate shall investigate the matter in plenary on Monday, the 19th of August, and on Tuesday, the 20th of August 2024. The Senate is accordingly guided. I thank you, honorable senators. Yes, Senator Boni.
Mr. Speaker, because of the respect that we accord members every time they speak, I have been listening to the contributions, and I have heard two nominated senators who have raised a point of common sense. Common sense that if nominated senators cannot vote in a delegation, and since it requires a delegation to vote to make a decision on removal of a governor, Mr. Speaker, the point of common sense that I've raised is that, therefore, we have been carrying out an illegality for them to have been participating in committee decisions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like you to clarify either now or later, substantially, so that it be clear that for that reason, nominated senators cannot sit on a special committee of impeachment because they have no vote. Clarify.
Senator Fernandez.
Mr. Speaker, further on when you reside or retreat to your chamber, tied up with the Senator Boni, Mr. Speaker, I would like to invite your invitation on Article 123 on decision of the Senate, an article further on the removal of a president as provided for under Article 145, I think 7, where it does not substantively refer to the delegations. So we need, Mr. Speaker, your interpretation, what it means, since the nominated senators cannot participate in impeachment of governor because it is by division of delegations as per Article 123, what happens in future if a president has to be impeached, yet it says members of the Senate? So, Mr. Speaker, in your retreating into your chambers and writing a Solomonic ruling, we would seek the interpretation purposely and maybe guide us that in future, should the head of delegations of those units be consulted before both the minority and majority make certain decisions, so that we are crystal clear, so that we don't have to shoot in the dark, Mr. Speaker. I hope you will guide us appropriately. I thank you.
Honorable senators, I will render my considered ruling on that matter upon resumption. For now, be upstanding. Honorable senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 3rd of September 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
So our first conversation for today is as we commemorate the International Youth Day. We have youth in the studio, but we're looking at it from a different angle. Kasmuel Mokaure is an activist and he's here. Kasmuel, good morning.
Good morning, Latte.
How are you doing?
Not bad.
Oh, Pole. I have the wrong mic for you. Hold on. I'm going to repeat that again. From Kasmuel, good morning.
Good morning, Latte.
How are you?
Not bad at all.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation.
Thank you, sir.
How are you doing?
Not bad.
Yeah. So we have this photo of our champions,
right?
Our athletes,
yes,
from Paris,
yes,
and you have our athlete from Nairobi in the studio.
Yeah.
You won a gold medal,
man.
A very thorough 50-meter sprint.
I really did. That isn't a sprint. That's a dash.
That's a dash. Man saw police.
Right.
Man saw opening.
Right.
It's called strategy, bro.
Yeah,
it is.
Strategy.
No, but it was a madness. I feel like that's the only part that made it. That's the only part that made it to the media. Because, people tell us that we need to dialogue and you need to be brave. That's fine. But anytime I tried approaching the cops like this, I would tear gas, and then I just got a bit crazy. I was like, no, man. At this point, we'll figure out better ways to deal with this police force.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's understood. It's not service. It's police force.
No, this is not a service. This is a force.
Okay.
Yeah.
City will welcome you with the day's proverb.
We are in the Republic of Central Africa, otherwise known as the Central African Republic.
Right.
Now, this country has features. There are two that I want to mention to you. There's an index called the Human Development Index, okay? And they say that this particular country, they're looking at the 2022, the index is computed out of 193 countries. Central African Republic was 191, okay? But among the things they looked at when they looked at the various details, they estimated it as the worst country in the world to live in as a young person. I thought I would just mention this to you.
Wow.
So be glad you don't live there and that you live here. Okay? All right, now the proverb. An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
Yes.
What's your interpretation of this one, Kasmo?
Oh, man. That's an interesting one. But to me, it sounds as though what would generally trouble a simple mind, what would seem super devastating to a person who has had experience, seems like a small problem because of the magnitude of an elephant, the thickness of its skin, to what we would see if a human were to trample on a thorn. It would be such a huge story. But for an elephant, it's nothing but quite literally a walk in the park. Yeah, that's what I think. I don't know.
That's very well interpreted, extremely well interpreted. Very good, thank you.
That's a very good one.
Yes.
Okay. Before we come into our conversation about, what we call, it started off as Gen Z, but now basically everybody's saying, no, I'm also Gen Z. Actually, let's just call it Kenyan citizens, agitation for better governance.
Right.
Before we get there, who's Kasmuel?
I'm a musician. I'm a pianist specifically, and I'm also a composer. Apart from performing, I'm an educator. I studied finance at the Technical University of Kenya, and I'm a swimmer as well. In a nutshell, that's the stuff I do on a daily, weekly basis, and I also make suits. Yes,
those are his human activities.
Those are my human activities.
Yes. Superhuman activities.
Flash Gordon. How did you get into this movement? Because there's a movement that started,
right?
And it said that it was started, just social media, people coming out and speaking, and it was organized, and people ended up on the streets, and they ended up on the streets, and then we started now seeing people who were vocal and visible and active. You and your suits out on the streets became immediately visible.
Right.
How did you end up on the streets?
I think I've always been a part of agitation, especially, and civil disobedience when it comes to agitating for our rights. I remember being on this seat, although virtually, about 3 years ago, when we were agitating against the lockdown. So consistently, I've always believed in in protests and protesting. So this one was no new. It wasn't a different activity. In my head, it wasn't special. I hadn't planned for it. I was going for a protest that was against an oppressive finance bill. And then that morphed into a much bigger thing. The finance bill, I think the finance bill was just a thing of a thing that was much deeper, a rot that was much deeper in the country, and I think that was brewing. But this was gonna be big, and I know this because when we marched in March, the women of the country did a very spectacular march, the best organized protest I've ever witnessed in my life, the march against end femicide. And this is how I knew that there was something big coming. Yeah, and just the organization, the consistency, and the whatnot.
You attended that march?
I did. I attended that march as well, and we were singing and chanting, and I got a bit of heat, and I was like, no, we have a femicide problem, and that's also a thing that has not been resolved, even within this current situation. There's a very jarring report that should come out around just the cases of femicide, even in relation to Kware, because Kware also came up in this movement. Yeah, so that's how it happened. For me, it was just, I believe in marching for a fair and just society, and I think that whatever cause it is we're marching is a righteous and just cause. Yeah.
So you say, and many people have actually said this, even here we've said,
yes,
that the finance bill appeared to have been a trigger. Right. But it was something that was bubbling under. There was a feeling of, discomfort with government and, just wanting things to get better.
Yes.
And the finance bill provided an avenue for people just to come together and gravitate.
Yes.
Since then, what has it become?
I don't think it has become anything, or I think it's just entering the fullness of its manifestation, where, for example, if the finance was a scab and there was a rot or a cancer down there, it's an exploration of whatever the discussed or the bigger issue is. It's still, and it's a thing that I still believe in. I think the movement has just but begun, but there's also the role of propaganda and misinformation within the movement. There's also people trying to settle personal scores. There's also people who are in there to raise money, and that's part of what I think greatly did a great disservice and injustice to the movement. And a lot of the time when people talk about Nane Nane, which was recently, it was supposed to be very big, but if you think about the things that transpired, by the time people were getting to Nane, state had already caught up with the fact that they could sponsor hashtags and people to just sponsor a totally different agenda. There was censorship very heavily. There was barring from people to get into town. But also, just within the citizens, there are people who sought to have private gain in the name of the collective. So there are people who just sit down somewhere because they can design a poster. They let out the poster and they know that they can play into the anger of Kenyans and the collective dissatisfaction in the public. So if I were to debrief Nane Nane, if it were totally up to me, knowing what I knew just the evening before, we would have called it off. But
Wednesday night?
Yes, on Wednesday night. Just seeing and knowing that the people who just were doing this for the sake of chaos, they were just doing it for the sake of protests and sustained protests because that made them money. On the protesters' side, this is not even on state.
How are they making money?
So, when we have, I don't want to call it civil unrest, but when we have these activities that require mobilization, especially against state, there are certain progressive organizations that are willing to give people money for that. And that's why I think if I were to do it differently, the only reason I marched for Nane Nane was for the people who actually believe in the cause. There are comrades who would come from Kibra. They would walk from Kibra, guys would walk from Githurai. And you want to tell me that now we're calling off this thing? Make it make sense. Because remember, there are also very many detractors, people who just came into the wave, rode the wave, and just let it go. I was doing it for these university students. I had a university student who sent me, a guy called David, who sent me 100 shillings and said, I'm sorry, I can't make it on the street, but go and march. There are people who actually truly believe in the cause and what it is that we were doing. But there was an individualism towards it that greatly took away from the movement. That would be my analysis of it. Yeah.
What would you say the cause is?
Just the three main points that we've been talking about: corruption, bad governance, and lack of accountability. Those permeate into all the sectors that we have problems with. When kids go hungry, or when young people cannot get identification cards in time, or passports, things that people applied for months prior, and just, it's a politicization of things which government is supposed to be doing. And we have government officials looking at us and telling us maybe we have a PR or a communication problem. And we're like, no. The people look at us, young people, and say, oh, you should give the president time because he's made certain concessions. And we're like, if you're going to be altruistic about it, then no concessions have been made. And everybody but the people who've lost lives are being called to table. And we were not calling for dialogue. We were not even asking for positions. What we were doing was saying, do this right. And we refuse to be the generation that will applaud a fish for swimming. We just say, if this is what you were mandated to do, by Jove, just do it.
But what you've just said, you've actually said something very profound.
Right.
See, yes, there was the RUTO must go chant.
Yes.
But then there's the narrative of you're saying, do it right. Meaning, you are in power, you're still there. Just do what you're supposed to do. Forget this going. You do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
That's it.
Absolutely. Because even if you realize that it was an underbabbling hashtag, but it was a very small one. When we were doing this, we actually gave this man a chance to do it right. We gave him a chance to give us an efficient cabinet, which he did not do. We gave him a chance to fix the country, because the president has the powers to end tribal appointments in government. He has the power to crack down on graft. And when now he showed us that he was not interested, then the chant became a thing. We were not interested. People would look at it and and think we were angling for positions in government. We were angling for appointments. No. We said, put the right people in the places, do the right thing because you committed to it. And as the Swahili people say, maji ukiyavulia nguo lazima uyakoge. It's nothing but plain and simple. We insisted, now that you're in power, do this thing. So the thing that got people angry is the hubris. It seemed as though he was not interested in doing it, and then now we were just like, then clearly if you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, just step aside and let a person who's more efficient do it.
The very call to speak, as they say, to power and to tell the government you're not doing this thing right. You are essentially, this was a David versus Goliath story in this sense.
Yeah.
The president comes in as the executive, the CEO of the country, against a backdrop of presidents who have done exactly what he's doing, meaning doing exactly what he wants.
Right.
Okay. We had a bit of a break, a bit of a break.
Right.
Within the Kibaki government. Every government has these spots where you get the impression, yes, they're listening, but by and large, they don't listen.
Right.
Now, when you are putting pressure and hoping that right would be done by the citizenry, what was the plan for what we now have when the government has shown you with great clarity that they have no intention whatsoever of doing what it is that you asked for?
Right. I think that's very interesting because a few weeks ago, I don't think I would have answered it clearly because our greatest strength has always been the leaderlessness, but it has also been one of our opportunity areas to rethink our organization. Because at that point, anybody who who agreed that this government is wrong was clearly on our side. However, we did not have one clear plan. We didn't say that maybe Casmol had these ideas, these other people had these ideas, but it is very important, as it has proven to be very important the past maybe 2 weeks, the importance of organizing and mobilizing around collectives. Because the collectives at the grassroots level are the things where now we go and listen to the people. When you go to Bunge la Mwananchi, you go and actually collect the views. When it started, we were just doing this and we had that holy rage and we were doing it from an individual standpoint. So I would go and find a scandal and say, this is it. If I'm going to be very honest, we, especially after occupying parliament, we had enough momentum and we did not think that the government would retreat to whatever it usually retreats to, and not because we were being bad students of history, but because we had taken such a great forward leap into the fabric of time that we felt as though then we were ready for this course to change. And it seemed, as you aptly put it, that the regime was listening. However, I don't want to speak of it as though it has died. We know that these kinds of struggles are protracted struggles. In 1952, it took 8 years back then. So I think those are part of the areas now we've learned, and now we know this is how to deal with the government. So it's just a matter of ensuring that we apply constant pressure. The form is where now we will have to see, what avenue do we take in terms of sustainability?
You know, we wanted aloud in this studio and said, okay, let's take the view that the government actually does listen and said, okay, we are winding up.
Right.
Then where would we have been? Because nature was a vacuum.
Yes.
What would have happened?
So I think, and that's an interesting question. It used to, I think, anger me when I would be asked earlier, because it's the what next question.
It has to be asked.
Yes, which is, and as I think about it, it's an important question, because not only does nature abhor a vacuum, but we have a whole country that is supporting you. It just will not entrust its future to people who seem as though they do not have a plan.
Yeah.
And I think very recently I came out clearly to say that our intention was to have a transition government that will lead us to the new republic, that we would outsource for stakeholders like a multi-sectoral stakeholder, and we'd have people from the Council of Churches and religious leaders and those kinds of things, and then these people who would serve in this transitional government would not be in the government of the new republic.
Are you aware that every grouping you've mentioned think exactly like the people who are in power?
Right.
Are you aware?
I was about to say,
right,
what you've just said is what the president had proposed.
That's what he had proposed.
150, bringing together all those multi-sector people.
Yes.
Meet at Bomas.
Right.
And chart a way forward.
For us, it was not going to be chart a way forward. It was to take care of the country, of that vacuum problem that people were talking about. However, that was the alternative.
Yeah.
The Constitution itself, as it stands right now, is the biggest RUTO must go hashtag. Because everything, this RUTO must go demand, I know I will not be jailed if I say RUTO must go, in the sense that we know that CJ Emeritus in 2020 or 21, September 21st, advised the then President Uhuru to dissolve Parliament because it sat unconstitutionally and had not attained that two-thirds gender rule threshold. This current legislative house, as it is, still does not meet the threshold, and Parliament should be dissolved ad perpetuum until it attains that threshold. So we know that as it stands, and this is not a subject to litigation. You cannot now go and litigate it at the High Court when the advisory came from the Chief Justice. In the Constitution, the President should dissolve Parliament, and the dissolution of Parliament should call for a general election. It is, in effect, his own resignation. And that should happen ad perpetuum. So if we were just to sit down and say, follow the Constitution, if I just said RUTO must go, it is equivalent. The synonym is follow the Constitution, synonym is all these things. Because then if we do not have a legislative house sitting at that number, he's not beholden to have a cabinet that sits at that number, or PSs, or heads of parastatals. So if constitutionally, I don't see where the vacuum would have arisen from if he resigned.
Consider, for instance, that it's not just the political class, but the citizenry. You see, for any government to survive, it means that the citizenry, for whatever reason, are either in compliance, or they've given up, or there's apathy. You call it what you want, but they're more or less moving along.
Right.
Now, since we're talking about the Constitution, let's talk about the Constitution. And yes, indeed, the Constitution doesn't really allow for a vacuum.
Right.
If, again, by saying that ODM has actually joined the government, yet the leader says they have not joined.
Right.
It's these individuals who have joined.
Right.
Okay, we hear it. Don't you think that even as you talk about these groupings of yours, that perhaps it is time that the gathering of young people and the gathering of like-minded people right across the country started thinking of how else they can actually formally constitute to challenge, first of all, their own counties, and then bring the challenge at the national level, because the protest showed their support.
Yes.
The Constitution allows you to have a constituent gathering.
Yes.
You do not need to be elected in the formal way through the IEBC.
Right.
Consensus is adequate.
Yes.
Because this is what these are the groupings are. You didn't ask them to go and register.
No.
No, the bunge la wananchi, is it registered?
Kind of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of registered. But all those people who come there, does anybody pay them to come?
No way.
No. Is it a place that is recognized, that views can be aired?
Yes.
Why am I saying this? It doesn't matter what one likes. It doesn't matter how good one is. An element of a formal structure must always exist.
That is right.
Otherwise, the power that you have will simply dissipate.
It's true.
Yes, and I think this is something you've understood.
Absolutely.
But let me just say this. There's more learning to take place.
Yes.
Okay? There's more learning to take place because in this room we also asked, let's take the view that some of these youthful individuals were actually given positions of authority and power. How different would they be from the people that they're fighting against?
I think in this government, that's why consistently we've said, personally, I've said I would not accept a position from this particular government because it would be falling on a sword that's not even my own. Because it's a government that you do not operate as an individual. It's a government that's obsessed with control. That's why even in the sporting talent, you realize that our best sportsmen are either policemen or servicemen and women, in the sense that that's why we have all these medals, but how many sports academies do we have? Yes, everyone is basically congratulating all our heroes in Paris, but we have the billionaires who looted from our stadia. So it's for this particular government, you cannot effect change. And that's why we're saying we need a total overhaul of the system. Because however good I would present myself, the moment I get into an appointive position from this particular government, knowing that this is how it works, knowing what we know from even the former Attorney General who said, the legal advice is just like traffic rules in Kenya. They're just merely suggestions, not to be followed. It would not have worked for us. So, I mean, that's why we were coming from with the whole drain the swamp, clean up the entire system. Yeah.
Change the whole thing.
Yes.
Bottom up.
Right.
Our guest is Kasmuel Makaure. They're saying Kasmuel Omanyala, Wanyonyi. He's an activist. He is, yes. He's a pianist. He's a composer. He is, so what are you now? A designer, tailor?
A human being, a Kenyan. You know Kenyans are everything.
It's called multi-talented.
Yes, multi-passionate, multifaceted.
This one, Yes. We talk about youth. So it started off, just like what we saw in March, which was the femicide movement, the end femicide march. People just came because there was something they were agitating towards.
Right.
This time again, it started because finance bill and the effect and direct impact it was going to have on the youth. People came out. And then thereafter, it moved into, okay, by the way, actually, let's demand more accountability for the things that are happening. Of course, because being leaderless, because of all these things, then you start having various camps emerging. That shows you, even if it wasn't about infiltration by nefarious forces, it just shows you that this is not homogeneous. Yes, you're all thinking the same thing, you're all demanding the same thing, but your solution, your formula towards the solution is different. One is using pi d, the other one is using 2 pi r. You're all solving the circumference of a circle, but you're approaching it differently.
Yes.
So how then would this come back together into one? Should it even come back together into one thing?
I think the goal is unity, not oneness. The differences in approach, that makes it beautiful, makes it diverse, and it gives us more opportunities to explore different solutions. And as it morphs, there are people who will specialize and go into like different directions in terms of what we think the problem areas are. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be one thing, because eventually we are in agreement that the one thing that unites us is we want a better Kenya for all of us. We want a Kenya where we have opportunities, where children have food in their bellies, where there's no corruption, where you can get a job in government regardless of your surname. So it does not necessarily have to be us saying the same thing same time, but we're united by our problems. But we'll get to a point when we sort out these problems which are at the basic level, then I think it will continue to grow outwards. Because as it stands, nothing has happened it just seems as though it's become softer, but we are all still saying the same things. We're still saying, give us the IDs and the passports. We do stop exporting us for cheap labor, because what's the difference between that and slavery? We're saying, stop using our money as though it were your private money. We're saying the people who took loans in our names should pay, and did not tie them to a particular development project, should pay them the way they took it. So we're about all these things, we are in agreement. It's just that you'll find some people say, oh, now you need to have a leader. Some people, those are I feel like those are the superficial problems. These are things which can be sorted out without even listening to those voices. Yeah.
But you see, those challenges have always been there.
Yes.
Even before the finance bill protests, those challenges were there. And there was, a common understanding that, we need better governance.
Right.
We need better leadership.
Right.
And it comes up every time there's an election. People are like, you know what, we are looking for a better leader, better solution, better way of moving. We just don't see that we are recycling the same people.
Right.
But, this has helped us to see that as well.
Yes.
If you do not have a sustained voice, like we saw in May, June, then we may just get back into May, June last year.
Right.
Where, it was the same issues. People are saying we need IDs, we need passports, we need job opportunities, we need a government that serves the people, we need a government that listens, we need our debts to be audited, and we need all those questions were there.
Right.
How do you sustain this?
I think, and I'm very optimistic when I say that the thing has not died in any way, shape, or form, in the sense that we are currently organizing at the grassroots levels, at community centers, where you don't now have to be in Nairobi. Bunge la Mwananchi, you could attend it from anywhere. We're going through those bunges and first listen to the people. When you have an opportunity, go and present this petition, this form, wherever it is that you're going to be. And we've seen that the government is also very keen, because before we did Nane Nane, on Wednesday and Tuesday, we had, on Wednesday specifically, we had about 10 people's assemblies. And they were all violently dispersed. We'd have cases of police raiding social justice centers, the offices. We've had individuals who have had to even move from their houses because they've been directly targeted. So it cannot die, because there's structure at those community levels. At the social justice centers, there are very clear structures. And that's why I keep on insisting on, you have to submit to a collective. You will not, at this point, for us to keep on going with the change that we're agitating for, you will not just be allowed to put out a poster because you are a graphic designer or because you have 100,000 followers on X. We will not allow it. We've said, submit yourself to a collective. Go and say, this is my idea. Then the people are going to tell you whether or not we are marching forward. Because right now, you've seen a lot of people are now putting out posters saying Mandamano yesterday, Mandamano today. Now you expect, and this is the expectation, that these leading voices should be there. So there's a young person who's saying, Casmo, give me direction. And I'm like, no, do not go for that protest, because these are innocent children. And we've seen that the police force is not willing to deal with these people as unarmed citizens. You saw when we were in court on Friday, we spent the entire day. And I saw a lot of people asking, do these people look like anarchists? Because we actually occupied the courts. And the thing that the government did is what happened on Nane Nane, people were lifted off the streets very early. I know a friend who activated for only 20 minutes, and then he called me. He's like, man, we are lying flat-footed and we're being taken to Central.
Wow.
However, they bundled up all the leading voices, about 104 young people who previously did not know each other. These people spent a night in the cell, so there's camaraderie, and we spent an entire day in court. Now we know each other, and we know exactly how to find each other. So in my head, the way I see it, I was like, I previously thought that I was the only one who could make this noise. I've met 100 more. So to me, it just has begun. It's just but begun. So we will organize at community level. We will not allow people to just use this movement for their own clout, because there are people who are using it to chase clout.
But how do you know that? When you say we will not allow, how do you know? How do you come to me and tell me that no, you have a different agenda from?
I'll ask you, what collective are you a part of? Because
why should I be in a collective?
I think you should be in a collective if we're looking for the common good. So, for example, you might have your ID. I have my ID, but I'm fighting for people who do not have IDs. I can't just, you can't do it nefariously, so to speak. There are people who just think that this is an agenda, like people who go to protest by themselves. That is also very welcome, but you will not ask the whole nation to occupy a thing. For example, like people who are saying occupy State House. People who are even saying occupy State House on Wednesday this week. You're saying it as who? I've seen a person who put out the poster, and now I asked them, as who? are you a part of a collective? Because you cannot now lead people's children to a place, because we've said very clearly that there are various grassroots organizations, and they're very close, they're not too far. You can join. There are very many social justice centers. Go there, because these are people who've been doing this for their entire lives. There are people who've just hopped onto this thing because it's the latest trend. So it's very easy to know these leading voices. We are saying you're one of the leading voices here on socials. You will use your socials responsibly, because if we are holding these politicians to the same account, we cannot be playing. Because what about the people who've been benefiting from these demonstrations? They are in effect no different from these politicians, because people have died and you've lined your pockets with donor money, and we know them. So that's now why we are saying, and I can say this authoritatively, because when I speak, I'm not speaking on my own. I'm speaking as part of a collective, a person who submitted themselves. And I was doing this as a solo person. And they asked me, how can you do it alone? There's a group where you can find support, where you can find literature, where we can educate ourselves on political thought. Because the challenge we had even when we were starting, people just thought Gen Zs are people who will get onto a space, throw a few F-bombs here and there, and then go. But we are not politically vacuous. We know very well that this is what we want for the healthcare sector. These are the people we want to emulate. This is the kind of vision we have, and it works better if we submit ourselves to a collective.
What are these collectives? Which one do you belong
to? Now, there's a merger between Mathare Social Justice Center, Dandora, Kasarani, and all over the country. And so especially here in Nairobi, so those are ones which I'm submitting myself to attend these meetings, and we talk at community level. So we go into the town halls, and we sit down and we say, these are the things that are assailing us, and these are the actions that we intend to take. So currently that collection is about 49 little collectives which have met in Nairobi.
So social justice centers
and grassroots organizations. Yes, about 49 of them that now are currently meeting, and that will even be meeting. We'll be meeting later today to one debrief on Nane and discuss steps forward.
Can people belong to any other? Can I form a collective?
Yes.
So I can come out and actually release some social media posters and say, I am going to town on Wednesday. If you'd like, join me.
But you have to tell us as who?
As Eric.
Yes,
as a citizen, as an active citizen.
So as an active
I want to go out and I want to say that if you are interested, come and join me.
Yes.
We shall be meeting out in Uhuru Park on Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Right. Yes.
So then you can ask me who I am. I'll tell you, I'm Eric. I have every right to call out people just as much as you do.
You absolutely do. But then what we'll question is the agenda. And then now, yes, as much as you have the right, we also have the right to see whether or not we will join that protest. Yeah, so as a collective, we're not gatekeeping or policing. We're looking for what has the best interest of the people at heart. Because I'll give you an example.
That is gatekeeping.
Oh, it is. Yes. Whatever.
Gatekeeping isn't a negative thing.
Yeah.
In any setup, there has to be some form of order.
Right.
It just can't be helter-skelter. You'll achieve nothing.
That's the...
What? No, sorry, that's statement not correct. You'll achieve a lot of noise.
Right.
But what it is that you purport and you claim to seek, you will certainly not achieve.
Right.
You see, I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to the one thing that I've heard consistently, and which makes a heck of a lot of sense. Constantly referencing the Constitution.
Yes.
But beyond the Constitution, there's something called statecraft.
Yes.
This animal you're fighting is not an individual. It's also a collective.
Yes.
And this collective has a way in which it functions. Now, they seem to be taking time to understand how you function. Are you taking time to understand how they function?
Now we are. Now we are in the sense that even the politicians who are coming up as activists, for example, they seem to have very little effect to what their collective is.
Be careful. Politicians are a bit unreliable.
Yes, that's what we're saying. If in the state machinery, their activism seems to do very little against their movement.
No. In this country, no. The musical chairs that they play with every season and with every presidential season, government season, tells you exactly what they are. I am actually talking about the mandarins in government.
Yes.
You're talking PS, you're talking director, you're talking what? How government works.
Right.
There's a way in which it works.
Yes.
And it's something that is studied and you need to understand it.
Right.
In understanding it, you may be able to now think about fostering change.
Yes.
Among the groupings that you have, there are people who have political ambitions.
Yes.
It is absolutely useless if you have political ambition, in my opinion, and you don't understand how this thing you want to get into.
Right.
Forget the Kenyan politics, the way you say this, put that aside.
Yeah.
You've seen how that, where it gets us.
Yes.
Actually understanding, if today the president woke up and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. With these PSs, we want to bring in some 10 youths.
Yes.
10.
Yes.
You'll be taken through some process of understanding how things work.
Right.
Wouldn't it be better if you actually understood it before you got there?
It really would.
Or among your people, so you know this is what needs to be done. Because you can make a political appointment.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't understand statecraft, man, circles will be run around you.
Absolutely.
And very little will actually move in your docket.
Yes.
It's what happens with many ministers.
Yes.
So they come into the ideas, all right.
Right.
But it's not them who really run the show.
It's true.
They appear to, but they don't really run the show.
Right.
Now, the numbers that the group you belong to present, close to 35 and under, close to 70% of the voting population. This is not a ticking time bomb. This is a ticking nuclear bomb.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is huge. Now, the focus on how these numbers can actually be utilized, should that not be at the center of your discussion? Not just arming it so that you are seen to be challenging the government, but seen to be actually seeking to understand how a better government ought to be and tooling yourselves for that better government.
Right. And I think we actually are doing that with our civic education programs, translating bills and the constitution into various vernacular languages, trying to overcome this monster that is tribalism.
Yep.
And you know, with this government of national unity, it sets the state back to those tribal cocoons, because there seems to be a sort of appeasement when it comes to those tribal allegiances. But there's something very impactful that you've said, CT, in terms of understanding that the state and its craft, it's a system that works so well that even the people who seem like outliers do not affect its working, its inner workings.
No.
So anyone who's come out vocally, who's a politician, who's come out vocally and bashed the state, has done nothing to how the state works. It's the same thing which now is saying we will need to consider that even if we need to figure out how the collective works, and the elite, we actually have, such that if one outlier comes out with these new strange heretic ideas, it will not affect the general collective good, because what we are looking for in vain terms is a superior happiness of our people, the utmost superior life for the people that we represent. So if you come out with a thing which we think is nefarious, if we know that this man is doing this thing for funding, we will tell the people of the collective, hey, listen, do not send your children there. Because I will give you a story where someone has fundraised and we know that they have received the money and there is proof. And instead of them bringing the money to the collective, they say, approach a few individuals and ask them, how many t-shirts do you want? And do all these kinds of things, just as politicians would.
Okay.
And so that's those are some of the individuals, because we know them. We've said, now if you do not submit to the collective, go and take your games over there. Because what we're doing it involves lives. Anytime we go,
what effect does that have? Okay, so the person is fundraising.
Yeah.
They receive some support.
Right.
They purchase t-shirts, they distribute t-shirts.
Yes.
It's only that they have not come to this collective to report.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that?
You know, the beautiful thing is these people have the money, but they do not have the influence or the people. It's the collectives that have the people. It's the collective that has the generals who are willing to set boots on the streets. Yeah, so you might have the money, but I dare you to go out there and bring a crowd of 100.
See, herein you have a microcosm of what would happen if Gen Zs were in parliament, they were cabinet ministers, and even the president.
Yes.
This thing you just discussed.
Yes.
And you would take us in directions that are even far more disastrous than what the president seems to be taking us to right now.
I oppose it, because we've not participated in mass murder.
I'll tell you what.
Right.
Not yet.
Yes.
Because you haven't gotten the levers of power.
Yes.
So what it is saying is that if you got the levers of power,
and
some of you would then be able to go and mobilize some resources to come and use on one side, and others
It's a microcosm.
Yes, I see exactly
what
what
do you
mean.
think these people whom we keep saying seem to be thickening our eyes and ears with this morbid display of ill-gotten gains? What do you think that is? It's exactly that.
Right.
That's the limitation that they have currently.
Yes.
Imagine what they would do if they had a position.
Right. I see exactly what you mean. And that's why I think on the break I was saying that it's taking if you hear us talk about it, we talk about it in a socialistic, almost communistic point of view when we're talking about the leaderlessness, the formlessness. But it's because the limelight is not on those people.
All those movements, my brother, had leaders. Believe me.
No, absolutely.
And there's not. Again, let me repeat something which I think is important to be said. Everything you've told us so far is actually good.
Right.
Nothing wrong with having begun as that leaderless thing, because we were of the opinion you're not leaderless. At least that was my opinion.
Right.
There is nothing like a leaderless group. There may not be someone standing on a rostrum saying, I am the leader.
Right. There are influencers.
Yes, there are dominant voices that are heard.
Right.
That's leadership.
Yes, it is. Yes. It is, and it absolutely so. So I think, and that's why we said when we started, we were united by the leading idea, and they were amplified by the leading voices, and that will continue, and it permeates
in the various spaces.
Yes, in the various spaces, it still continues, and that now when we are saying this is what the collective is, because the people who we've said these are the people who will give the limelight or whatever are people who want the utmost good for the people, for the collective. And that's what part of even what we're curbing, and we're saying we will not allow corruption amongst our ranks, just the same way we do not allow it in government, because that microcosm that you've talked about, which is a very clear depiction of things as they are and things to come, if we are going to expect that of the politicians, if we let it reign free here, and the struggle just continues with us knowing these people and fostering them, and then just saying, oh, now currently they're part of the struggle. What if the struggle runs for 8 years? Now we have a rich person who's only
has been struggling.
Yes, who was in the struggle. Now when they get in, they just go in for the kill.
Accountability both ways.
Yes.
Accountability within
and without.
Absolutely. And what I hear you saying is now increasing civic awareness, using those spaces and opportunity to create more awareness on what needs to happen.
Yes.
For example, IEBC reconstitution is going to happen. Then you'll need to register as voters, those that didn't, the 8 million plus that should have registered as voters.
Right.
Make sure that they register as voters. Make sure then that you encourage more and more people. I'm seeing a lot of interesting things. Accountability, for example, people just going and looking at Auditor General's reports.
Yes.
And control of budget reports and saying, so this is what we are digging out of this, and exposing these things. It creates more awareness. And I think it's a good thing.
It is. I have people who now just have made it their life's mission to tell us an update. These are the public participation things for all the bills that are going to be tabled. Someone just gives us a proper schedule.
Yep.
People who've just said, I'll take this particular ministry. Guys like Professor, and now we're asking how we're going to help. That now we are going to harass BTOC next. We want our IDs out. We signed a petition when we were in court, Juicy, on Friday for IEBC. So we are doing this thing, and we'll march on. Yes,
keep doing it.
Right,
accountability both ends.
Asante.
Kasmal Makore is an activist. He's a youth. He's been here. He's been our guest.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Their own Haitians taunt Kenyan police of a crackdown. City. The Star and the China Daily.
China Daily is such fun. The China Daily.
It's a huge paper. You have to stand up to read it.
You have to stand up so you can hold it.
It's on the side. Here. Okay, let's have a look at it. China Daily.
Grief.
Right. Team China hailed worldwide for victories, morale. Cambodia still benefits. The president of China is called Xi, but I'm sure it's not. See, you it's pronounced differently.
He is called Xi.
He is called Xi. Is okay. Xi's visit. She visited Cambodia in 2016, and relations soared. Things changed in Cambodia, and they keep changing for the better. All right? Hollywood's glory fades due to U.S. prejudice. This is a story that tells you, it's about movies really, that Chinese movies are on the rise. And they're saying, if you look at box office non-hits of movies like Black Widow, that movie is tough. I don't know what they're talking about. Okay? There's one called Shang-Chi, okay-ish movie. The Legend of the Ten Rings. This is a nice movie. Okay? Eternals and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is really nice. The guy just waves his hand and things happen.
You actually watch these things?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just like doing a thing.
Oh, no. I watch all manner of movies.
Even these ones for
yes.
Doctor
Strange. Yes, Doctor Strange is lovely. As I said, he just waves his hand like
this.
this.
Do they speak in sync, or you just want to see somebody's mouth moving? Then you hear the sound later.
No. It's not on these movies where someone says, I will kill my neighbor, and then the mouth still moves. None of those ones. They are called what? Voiceovers. Well, the story here is trying to depict that some of these movies haven't been the box office hits they were supposed to be, and yet Chinese movies and the box office hits are on the rise. If a movie is made in China and the Chinese watch it, it will be vacated. People are having to move. People are moving.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, yes. North of Athens, the village is called Varnava in Greece. It is a massive fire. The neighbors have decided to help. Neighbors of Greece have come in to help because that fire could spread to their own countries. Yeah, that is China.
That's China really.
Now, you said star.
Yeah.
All right. Top right-hand corner. But you should look at the headline in the People. That headline is...
They've just done it.
Tantalizing.
The government in RUTO's rot.
Corner in what?
Top corner in blue. Oh, till blue. Sorry.
What color is that?
No, Eric.
Today I'm wearing the top right-hand corner.
It is. Same color.
It's same color.
It's the same color. But you see, this lady is confusing me. I'm about to read top right-hand corner. Then she does.
points.
I also look.
Top right-hand corner in blue.
Okay. Let me read the paper. Development agenda. RUTO heads to Kisii after whirlwind tour of Mount Kenya. Okay? These things, wait, is it? No, this is yesterday's paper. Sorry. Today's paper.
You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. That was yesterday's paper.
Oh, that's okay.
Today's paper is free.
Today is free. Top right-hand corner.
Still
free copy.
No, this is till greenish.
Something.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But anyway, arrest. 1.5 bail won't cow me to ditch activism. Okay? This is a story of somebody who has decided she stood up against powerful organizations and she's really going to stand strength of a woman. Why Kalonzo is trapped between rock and hard place. So Kalonzo has a choice. He can go to rock, he can go to hard place. Okay? Healthier choices. Food in supermarkets could soon have exam-style grades, meaning, yes, food in supermarkets. What if food in Kenya supermarkets carry KCSE grade labels? For the best, grade E, the worst, sounds fanciful, and so forth, and so forth. Story for another day. Kingpin, bang in the middle of the paper. Central MPs slowly embracing Gachagua as RUTO 2027 campaign plan begins to shift. Okay, operative word is slowly. RUTO, Raila packed bolster Rigathi Mount, Kenya grip.
Allah?
Well, these are stories, man. It's been written here. Whether that happens tomorrow is a different matter. Today, that is the headline. Key ODM luminaries have been appointed to key ministries in Kenya. Kwanza, right? The picture of the president as he joins women's in a dance to launch the Maragua Education Endowment Fund in Murang'a County in June. Now, this guy's got moves, man. I'm looking at this picture. Huh?
Who do you see there?
Yes, I'm seeing DP. I see that move.
That's the president of the DP. The DP.
This DP. Right. DP, man, jig there, you know?
Ameanguka nayo. Okay, 27 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at the traffic and then see what those stories are saying.
This is the Situation Room The only way to start
Hey, baba boy, gas imeisha, shopping imeisha, na ujue tokens bado zinalia.
Msupa, nipe mbao na 20 minutes.
Mbao, like 20 bob. 20 minutes, kwani kuna nini? Na ujue mimi nataka kupika haki.
Jaber, kwani ujui dakika mamilini every 20 minutes, halafu wanapea na 10 million every 20 minutes, na hadi kuna 3 millionaires every hour.
Daka mamili virahisi. Uko na nafasi 3 ya kuwa millionaire kila hour. Usipitwe. Cheza Daka. Ushike mita yako sasa. Chagua nambari zako 4 za bahati and win up to 10 million every 20 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill 440440. Account, spice, amount. Cheza na shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2000 na ushinde mamilioni. Daka mita kuwa bingwa.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast. Now, by the way, see, I thought you are... No, I know what you are thinking.
Na kwani you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital? They have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information. Good news! Good news for the soccer lovers across Kenya. Very soon your lifestyle will never be the same. Crazy memories of the lively football matches.
Happening everywhere.
Introducing the new season of the English Premier League football matches.
Another gem of a goal!
Starting on the 16th of August 2024, exclusively on Spice FM. Catch the upscaled, heart-throbbing season's football commentaries from the ever-zealous soccer commentators and presenters. EPL, Soka Katambe. Only on Spice FM.
All right, not much happening. Coming off of Thika Superhighway today, we'll see just a little bit of that as you get towards the Pangani underpass, and then thereafter into the CBD, you're fine. Let's look at this other side of things coming off of Westlands. Wayaki Way, coming in from Kikuyu all the way through towards Westlands itself. Not looking bad at all as you get past museums. If you're going up towards Chiromo, I think also here it's free, it's clear. Gong Road, a little bit of that traffic coming in from Junction and Naivasha Road out towards Riara Road, and then James Gishuru on the other side. For now, looks good. The southern bypass also looking pretty good as well, getting towards Langata Road and then out into the city. Traffic is yet to be a thing this morning, but we're going to wait and see what happens as we go through it. Talk to us, Spice FM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So it would appear as though the Auditor General wants heads to roll. I said it would appear. Report says the government spent 14.45 billion shillings to import, get this, 2,807,806 million 20-litre jerry cans of edible oils, out of which
2.8 million jerry cans.
Yeah, 2.8 20-litre jerry cans.
Wow.
Okay. So the government spent 14.4 billion, of which only 12.05 billion was paid.
Okay.
Problem
so
there already.
They spent 14 and paid 12.
Yeah. Okay. So you
continue.
Okay. KCB gave 24 billion shillings credit to Kenya National Trading Corporation for the program. Now, Kenyans lost billions in the bungled state-backed edible oil scandal. Auditor General Nancy Gathongo has said she's not calling on investigative agencies to conclude their probe to allow for prosecution of culpable persons and entities. In her just published special audit findings on the multi-billion scandal, following a request by the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee into the 15 billion shilling program, Gadongo lays bare how Kenya National Trading Corporation messed up, leaving Kenyans grappling with high prices of cooking oil. The report says the government spent 14.45 billion to import 2.8 million 20-litre jerrycans, out of which they only paid out 12.05. It was only 2,518,434 million jerrycans that were delivered. But 1.7 can't make this stuff up, man. Let me start again. It says 2,518,434 million jerrycans were delivered. But only 1,710,206 million were actually received.
Okay, why are they writing million after they've written the million? These people.
Please don't be angry.
Standard Dina Sabedita squeeze.
Iko.
Wako. Walibaki.
It's for emphasis.
Oh.
Okay.
At the time of the audit, Gadongo said 603 containers carrying 807,864 jerrycans were yet to be cleared. A physical count in February found this 833,000. Okay. At that time, there was a short landing of 301 jerrycans. In February, 301 20-litre jerrycans could not be found. Now, despite an expenditure of 14 billion, the government only realized 2.4 billion from the sale of 653,174 of the jerrycans. You follow me so far? It should have been much more if they had sold what they actually brought in.
Okay.
That did not happen. The report queries how the entire process was carried out, from conceptualization to budgetary approval and financing. The provider was tasked to oversee both the clearing process and the release of stocks as provided by the initial letter of offer between the Kenya Commercial Bank and the Kenya National Trading Corporation. Given emphasis in the report is the role that KCB, which has been fingered over the matter, in which it secured a deal to provide credit to KNTC to facilitate the importation, which was part of a 100 billion shilling initiative covering various food items. So this was part of something else.
Okay.
Now, according to this special audit report by the Auditor General, there is no documentary evidence on how KCB was identified from the government-approved banks that the National Treasury had asked KNTC to pick from. The process of evaluation was not provided for audit. In her report, Gadongo says that the Board of Directors had asked its management to seek approval from the National Treasury for a 15 billion shilling credit. So the big question here is, if you had this 15 billion shilling credit for which you were supposed to purchase these edible oils, how are we only seeing in the books then that you spent 12.08?
You spent 14, you sold the oil for 12.
And you're supposed to have been selling at profits.
There's a back and forth in this story that doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of back that doesn't. There's a lot of back stuff that doesn't make sense.
Bottom line is the Auditor General has found very many holes in this whole story.
Yes.
From how KCB was involved in this, in giving credit, to how KNTC went ahead to procure the oil, from how the oil arrived, how it was cleared, to how the oil ended up in our kitchens, right? And there's somewhere there where abracadabra happened.
Yes.
Money went, oil did not end up in our
it did not.
kitchens.
Even the amount of oil that you said came, did it actually come? That's another question.
Now, the person who initiated this probe was John Buddy.
Yes.
Now he's in the Treasury.
Is he?
See, it's good. It's good
Yep.
because one of the questions that they were asking, for example, was that how did you get a pre-approval for KCB to do
From
this?
the National Treasury.
From the National Treasury. See, now you're inside. So now you can tell us how that happened because you're there. That was one of the questions that was asked.
Now his role is not to ask questions. It's only to answer.
Exactly.
When only the questions that have been asked.
You know, my issue here with this story, number one, is that in as much as this was requested of the Auditor General's office by the parliamentary committee, and the report then has come out and the information has been shared that, look, we'll be able to trace and we see that this doesn't work. This has not happened. What will happen as a result of this this. Although all the lines have not been, put together properly, but it's obvious that there's discrepancy here. Money has been mismanaged or misappropriated and or taken. The amounts of oil that you should have received and then been on the shelves for Kenyans to then consume was not the amount that you paid for. So already that there are many things wrong here. Now, heads should roll, people should be accountable, people should answer the question. The question is somebody actually going to make sure that happens? If it doesn't, guess what? These are letters on a piece of paper.
It'll be one of those.
It'll soon be Wednesday, and we'll keep it moving.
It will be one of those. Now it's edible oil. It has been COVID billionaires. It will be one of those. It'll be fertilizer. It'll be one of those.
Yeah.
One of those. But only if citizens keep quiet.
Yeah.
If citizens don't keep quiet and they apply the pressure, then the pressure will still be there, because everything on here will be exposed. People will look at this Auditor General's report. Watch at this reporting that had to be constricted into 4 columns on a paper. People will actually take it and start chambuering. Let's look at this. What is the Auditor General quoting? She's quoting documentation that she's received. Okay, what do we see? What else have we received? What else had we seen? What had the CS then said? What had KNTC said? What had Parliament been told? People can actually go and do, because we're seeing more and more Kenyans doing this, conduct their own probe into this and start exposing some of these things and the glaring gaps and questions and mentioning those who are involved. Hapo ndio kitu kubwa iko. And it will be a big one. It will be a big one. So 2 things have happened. Number 1, remember there was civil society group, human rights group that had gone to court to challenge the issuance of the Huduma, Maisha number.
Yes.
Maisha number is the new generation ID, okay? The High Court had frozen the issuance of these Maisha numbers. The human rights group Haki na Sheria had argued that there were at least 450 entities, including the police, which will have unfettered access to data collected and contained in your Maisha number. The group's lawyers argued that the government had not disclosed data sharing agreements with the 450 entities. They said Maisha number is still in the piloting stage and the government has failed to provide a data protection plan. So, court said, yes, there's a case here, so in the meantime, can you stop issuing those Maisha thingies? Now, government said, now, if you stop us from issuing those Maisha thingies, right now, there are people at chief's offices across the country applying for IDs. The only IDs we have, Your Honor, are Maisha thingies. How many people? There are at least 10,000 Kenyans who are applying for IDs every day. Every day. So Justice Lawrence Bogambi said there is thus clear demonstration that suspending registration of Kenyans has very direct and immediate adverse consequences on a very large population of people, and the second respondent is able to track and account for such members every day. So the government is able to track and see how many people are applying. So court said, okay, you continue issuing as we continue with this case. Issues of data breaches and disclosures we can deal with as people have their IDs, because people need IDs. You need your ID to open a bank account. You need your ID to apply for help loan. You need your ID. You need your ID to go to university, to college, to TVET. You need your ID to register as a voter. You need your ID, everything. Higher. There's a story on page 7 of The Nation. There's a gentleman who was known as Mr. Moneybags. In which election was this that it was Mr. Moneybags? Was it the 2007 election, I think? Mr. Moneybags. His name is Stanley Livondo. Livondo, in February last year, he did something. He went and registered a new company. It's called DLS International. It was incorporated in Kenya on February 21st, 2023, just last year, okay? In that company, it's listed as Livondo as the majority owner of DLS International, 350 shares. Other shareholders are David Kegwongo Kanja with 300 shares, Simon Njoroge Ndongo with 300 shares, and Agnes Naini Waliaula with 50 shares. Kanja is an architect. Ndongo is a quantity surveyor. The Nation is not able to tell what Agnes Naini Waliaula does, okay? However, Kanja and Ndongo said, we are not owners of that. Where? Why is Nation asking all these questions? Because DLS International has gone to Zambia and has secured a very nice, lucrative contract. 2.7 billion shillings worth. Okay, you want that in dollars? $21 million worth to construct Zambia's Army and Ministry of Defense hospital. In Zambia.
Right.
Company registered in Kenya in February. In August, company gets contract in Zambia to construct a hospital. The Anti-Corruption Commission in Zambia is probing Kenya's DLS International Group Limited over claims that part of a $5.3 million, that's 608 million shilling payment to it last year for the contract was later wired back to the personal accounts of some private Zambian business owners and army officials. In addition to the alleged kickbacks to Zambian government officials, the anti-graft agency is probing how a newly registered company bagged such a huge taxpayer-funded deal despite not having any relevant experience in construction or security contracts. August 10, 2023, cash transfer by the Ministry of Defense in Lusaka was first flagged by the Financial Reporting Center in Nairobi, which asked DLS to explain the purpose of this money. The company, in its defense, said it had a contract in Zambia with the Ministry of Defense of Zambia for the supply, installation, equipping and training of 2 hospitals and upgrading Mainasoko Medical Center in Lusaka to a UN Level 4 referral hospital at a contract cost of $21 million. So those guys, the anti-graft agency in Zambia, started investigations. They wrote to the Attorney General of Kenya asking, can we get some assistance from the EACC in Kenya? EACC in Kenya has given them some information to who? To the Anti-Corruption Authority of Zambia. Higher. Tabo Kawana, the principal secretary in Zambia's information ministry, recently led a media tour of the hospitals in Lusaka and dismissed the graft claims involving DLS. The state-owned Financial Intelligence Center in Zambia lists the payment to DLS as a case study in its 2023 Trends Report on money laundering and terror financing. It says a foreign-owned company, DL, was incorporated in February last year and opened a bank account in April last year. In June last year, company DL was awarded a contract to supply equipment by government institutions, AR. Incorporate, February.
Yeah.
Open bank account, April. June, pasa iko ndani. The total contract sum was 21 million USD. In August, the company DL received a credit of 5.6 million USD in its account from institution AR as an advance payment. Ngoja niendelee. Our ni Financial Intelligence Center of Zambia. It's state owned. This is government reporting on its own. This is government of Zambia. Okay. It was established that company DL had no previous work experience but had purported to have been involved in works for the construction of a national university when in fact not. A check with the parent ministry M for institution AR revealed that the procurement process used was direct bidding and that the solicitation document did not require previous work experience to be provided by company DL, which raised a red flag as company DL was recently incorporated. Ask your question, number one.
All this up and down, did they actually build the hospital?
Yes, so you can hear there was the knee. In fact, Livondo has been the face of this and even going around Zambia showing this is the work we've done. He says there is nothing. It was true I registered a company in 2023, but is it a sin?
That's why I have to ask.
What I was to deliver, I delivered 100%. I don't believe in street gossip.
I'm also asking the same question. Because that's why I had to ask. Hospital was built, Abi. Money was paid.
Yes.
Everybody agreed
So
that
where's
you
the
build
problem?
hospital, you pay this money. Hospital was built, Abi.
Where's the problem?
So where's the problem?
The investigation is because when money was paid in August last year to DL, DL then paid some money back to people in Zambia who include government and army officials.
Outsourcing.
Yes, and
after the fact.
No. Wait a moment. It was the building was in Zambia, was it not?
Yes. See, there are people working in
the
Zambia.
construction company. Did it come from Kenya to go to Zambia? Did they use Zambian?
They're in Zambia. See, people have finished work. Then I'm
not
paying
only
you.
that. These people were Zambians. How do we know they were not legitimate shareholders in the company that was building?
They are not. The legitimate shareholders, according to the company business registration service, are Livondo, Dongo, and Waliaula and Kanja.
No.
Are we together?
No.
Are we together?
No.
There is no company in Zambia.
There are subcontractors in every such major project.
So
do we know?
Such subcontractors are not in the military and in government.
How do we know?
That is what the investigators are finding out.
Is that everything that they have investigated?
That's what they are looking. That's why the investigation is ongoing. Wewe ulilipa hawa watu. You were paid, then you have paid these people.
So the problem is he paid people.
This guy works in DOD. This guy works in the ministry.
Was it a military hospital?
Yes.
Yeah. Then
what?
Some people in the military had to be paid.
Why?
Engineer, consulting.
Who knows better about military things than military personnel?
And locals who were local consultants, like health consultants, cost consultants, health economic consultants, who are locals.
Why do you have to read corruption into everything? It's possible that...
Look, this is a good thing. Money leaves Zambia, comes to Kenya.
Some money goes back from Kenya to Zambia.
Where do you find such good-hearted people?
Inflows.
Here in this country, it just goes one way. It enters people's pocket, then it goes out. And as we don't even investigate where it goes.
I think these guys in Zambia should just do Livondo, and these guys in Zambia should go to Kakamega. Okay? There's a proper case study. Company is contracted by Kakamega County government.
Yes.
Company is paid by Kakamega County government.
Yes.
Company pays lawyers who are representing the governor of Kakamega County government.
Yes, a house is bought.
A house is bought.
Yes.
Okay? Company says, we lent this guy money.
They want their money back.
This governor, it was nothing about kickback. It was a loan. He came to us and said he wants a loan to buy a house. We give him a loan to buy a house. He's supposed to pay. And in fact, the company goes to court and says, can this governor, former governor, pay us our money?
Please, thank you.
Because there is no corruption here. You owe us money.
The fact that we did business with the county government of
Kakamega,
notwithstanding, and that they paid us.
Not an issue.
That is one issue we've understood. This other one
is a loan.
We lent him money. Can we not lend people money?
For goodness sake.
And he bought a house.
You can imagine the same thing.
Can he not buy a house?
We are building something in Zambia. The people who are there are the experts. After all, it is their country.
Yes.
They happen to work
in a military hospital, and there's a military guy.
Yeah.
Surely there has to be a connection.
And how do you people want me to pay them without having been paid first? Now that you've paid me, I've paid those guys.
If he had given them money before he was paid, it would have been a kickback. But they had paid. Work was finished. He paid him. That's not a kickback.
That's why I asked you, did they actually build the hospital? Or are we talking about castles
worst
in the
case
sky?
scenario, completely. Appreciation.
Let me just bless you for the good work that you have done.
You receive the blessings.
Ni chai.
Sami.
Kachai tu.
Mandazi.
Kununulia mtu chai yuko shida.
Gani. It's not one of these stories where somebody paid someone and they're saying, I was supposed to get a commission and they're going to court waiting for commission. This is a nice, good fairy tale from Africa. Hospital was built. Kenya company paid. Kenya company paid consultants.
In Zambia, where the hospital is.
And then we're investigating.
Do you see now, if somebody in Georgia had been paid,
that would be
no. That one no.
The place where they built the hospital, people are paid and then you are still complaining.
Come on. Eric, look for another story, please. Because
okay, another story. And then you'll come and tell us. There's an ongoing case in Malindi about Mackenzie. Mackenzie has been charged with many other people over the death of very many other people. Now, one woman who's charged alongside the Shakahola massacre suspect leader, Paul Mackenzie, has died in prison while awaiting trial of the manslaughter case that began yesterday. The prosecution informed Mwangaza's Chief Magistrate Alex Idhoku that an inquest is ongoing to establish the cause of Mary Charo Mbita's death at Chimolatewa Women's Prison. Mbita was one of Mackenzie's followers and co-accused in the Shakahola massacre trial. City, tell us.
There's a very brief story I want to tell you. We've had these complaints about a broad-based government. We've heard complaints, this and that and this and that. I want to take you to 2006. There was called the Government of National Unity. That Government of National Unity, if you look at the history, did something very similar. KANU had lost the election. Uhuru was then leader of the opposition, and there was something called Ford Kenya. No, so ODM Kenya, Ford Kenya, ODM Kenya. ODM Kenya had a bit of a problem. In 2008, a guy called Manzo took off with the registration and said this is Kalonzo's party, and Kalonzo now could stand for president because he and Raila were tiffing about it. Sawa. Okay? Then Mwai Kibaki, a man who saw far, decided that he was going to incorporate Kalonzo to be his vice president. Now, what Punde had not become Punde. 2008, this man's and Dr. Julio Jambo went and accused Kalonzo. He said, you had promised you're going to nominate us as MPs. Instead, you nominated Mohammed Shakila and Mohammed Afei. They went to court. Punde had not become Punde. Let's come to 2024. What has happened? Remember, Raila didn't go and join Kenya Kwanza. 4 of his people joined Kenya Kwanza. Can you relate to what I'm telling you before? Hey. And yesterday we had a guest here, okay? Said, this thing is against multi-party democracy, blah, blah, blah. In the Uhuru government, he also left the opposition and joined the then government. So this is a Kenyan trend. Yes, this is what Kenyans do with their politics. People move around, join the government when it suits them. When it doesn't, the other people who have then done what they did before are being undemocratic, and they're not following democratic principles.
Musical chairs pro-max.
Exactly. It's our turn to cry wolf. That's what I call it. Everybody cries wolf when it suits them. Now it's so-and-so's turn to cry wolf. But then, would you not say that somebody waited for their time to cry wolf? No, to give their friend a kick in the teeth for the 2008-2007 issue. Okay. It's called comeuppance, is it not?
It is.
Yes.
Ni mchezo tu wanacheza. Wote wanakula sinia moja. It's 7 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lesamira. Former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has said the new cabinet secretaries may not perform because of bureaucracy in the public service. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station last night, Kuria, who's among the CSS that President William Ruto failed to reappoint after dissolving the previous cabinet last month, said the bureaucracy in government is partly to blame for poor service delivery.
The bureaucracy in government is terrible. Let me refer again yet to the work that I did in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Sometimes you go out there, investors have got options of where to take their money. They choose Kenya. You convince them, you go to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, to all the continents, to the rest of Africa, and you think, oh wow, I have backed this huge investor. Then you come back home and you try to work through the system that's supposed to make that happen. It's like some people in government who are trained on how to say no. The default answer is no. Can we do this? No. Can we try that? No. Sometimes you wonder, is it because they don't love the country or something like that?
Meanwhile, the new cabinet secretaries have assumed office after undergoing an induction to familiarize them with the doctrine of public service, the role of the cabinet, and their individual responsibilities. Environment CS Aden Duale officially took over from his predecessor Soipan Tuya, who moved to the defense docket. He pledged to tackle climate change.
Climate change is not merely an environmental issue, but it is the most serious challenge that humanity faces today. Its impacts are profound, it's far-reaching, and it's deeply personal to all of us. Here in Kenya, we have experienced harsh realities of the climate change. You have seen the prolonged droughts of the past 2 years, followed by the very destructive floods, which brought very devastating losses of lives and livelihood. So our climate change are both severe and are very urgent.
On her part, Tuya exuded confidence in Duale's leadership.
It's been a wonderful team to work with, and I am very confident. I have worked with my brother Aden Duale in various capacities, and I can assure the team in environment, climate change and forestry that as I exit this space, you are in extremely good hands.
The new financiers, John Mbadi, also took over from his predecessor, Njuguna Ndung'u. Mbadi said he was ready to face the challenges in the ministry occasioned by the scrapping of the Finance Bill 2024.
For the first time in the history of this country, we are going to operate without a Finance Act passed in that financial year. We should have had a Finance Act 2024, which we are all aware was defeated. Now that has come with challenges, but above all, even the Finance Act of 2023 is facing turbulence. So ordinarily, we are going back to revenue of 2022. It's a serious challenge for us, but we'll see how to navigate.
The Kenya Aviation Workers Union has said it will call a strike from next Monday over a proposed deal with an Indian company to develop the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, or JKIA. The union, which represents airport workers, said the proposed agreement announced last month with Adani Airport Holdings would lead to job losses and bring in non-Kenyan workers. It called on the government to scrap what it referred to as the unlawful intended sale of the JKIA to Adani Airport Holdings in a 7-day strike notice issued on Monday. The government has said the airport is not for sale and that no decision has been made on whether to proceed with what it called a proposed public-private partnership to upgrade the airport. One person has died as fierce wildfires spread in the suburbs of Athens in Greece on Monday. The body, believed to be that of a woman, was found inside a shop in the town of Virilisia, northern Athens, a source from the fire service told the BBC. Thousands of people have been evacuated after firefighters warned that homes, businesses and schools were under threat, with fires expected to continue into Tuesday. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Few minutes after 7 o'clock, let's see what traffic is doing in the city. Looks like it's not going to be too crazy of a Tuesday. On the Thika Superhighway, we've got traffic coming in through that junction from the Allsop stage out towards the Pangani underpass, the junction with Wangari Maathai. That is building up. Landis Road then towards Kamkunji at the roundabout is also pretty busy right about now. Traffic on Gong Road. Traffic, let's still keep on this side of the city, coming off of Manyanja Road as well as Kangunta Road. On the other side of the city, Gong Road not looking too bad as you get past into the CBD. I think we'll be able to handle it for now, at least. Let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour. And we'll talk on Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is, and thank you very much for choosing this as the way to start your day wherever you are, or even to end your day if your day is ending. Wherever you are tuned in on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on KTN News, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, on Radio Garden, wherever. Asante sana for joining us. Ndu is back. Ndu?
Yes.
Mama Namagani.
Sana.
Very good to have you here.
Thank you.
This weekend, EPL new season begins.
Yes.
Okay.
Your boys played yesterday, did they not?
Which boys?
No, they didn't.
Yeah? Which boys?
Are you talking about the same EPL?
Yeah. Which boys?
Well, some boys played over the weekend.
There are some boys who were playing over the weekend.
Yeah.
Who were Manu and Man City. That was the one that starts the season. All right.
What cup is it called again?
It's called the Community Shield.
Community Shield.
Yes. So that happened. City won. And now we are starting. As we begin, the top, the table right now, the way it looks right now, Arsenal is the top. Arsenal is top of the table.
Really?
It's going to stay like that until the end of the season.
I thought it's a new season.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the new season starts with all the
So you
teams
start with
listed.
with marks.
You start with the alphabetical order.
So,
are we together?
We are definitely together, Eric.
Now, from that point, from Sunday, points until May next year.
This man
Arsenal will be top. Okay? And if you want to follow Arsenal winning the league this season,
If you want to follow Arsenal winning the league this season,
yeah,
Okay.
just tune into Spice FM on the days that the games are playing. All right? Because Spice and Radio Maisha and Meru FM have the rights to broadcast on radio the English Premier League. Wasikia maneno ndu?
Umesikia?
Wasikia? Yes, very good. We are together. We are very together. Our next conversation is going to be on alcohol, drugs, and substance abuse in this country. We are joined by Dr. Anthony Omerikwa. He is the CEO of the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA. Dr. Omerikwa, good morning.
Good morning to you, Latif.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room. Are you comfortable?
I'm privileged to be here.
Very good.
Yes.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
One of the things that we'll be talking about, of course, is the effect of, substance abuse. But on the other side, we'll also be talking about the positive effect of actually getting your health checkup periodically and regularly. CT says once you clock 40, do twice a year. Below 40, you can do once a year. But at least everybody, you must do a regular health checkup. Why, CT?
Well, that's what the Khan University Hospital is telling you. And they're saying, look, they can make this possible. In any of their many outlets, they're saying if you cobble up the sum of 9,950 Kenya shillings, you will then be able to get a fairly comprehensive checkup. You know, the sort of checkup, those of you who know vehicles, have vehicles, you check ball joint, what we Kenyans know as shokamzomba, where they look at, in this case, they look at your eye socket, they'll be looking at your neck, looking at everything that could possibly go wrong. Okay, open your mouth, the hair, remove your tongue, that sort of thing. At the end of the day,
remove your tongue.
Yes, stick it out so that
you.
people can see. They
Much
look,
better.
touch inside your throat. Okay, throat seems okay. Now, that checkup will do something for you. It'll give you a clear indication of what your health status is. If something isn't quite right, you will be told. Now, this is a precursor and a prevention to those moments when you say so-and-so was well and suddenly they collapse. That suddenly means there was something resident in you building, boiling, you didn't know about it, and then it bursted the banks and it came out and manifested you, hospital, HDU, ICU. That can be avoided. A stitch in time saves 9.
Indeed.
Yeah, so if you go for that checkup, all you're doing is giving yourself a breather so that you can tackle something that may be wrong early. When it's tackled early, it will be taken care of and you will be well.
Very good. Very good. 9,950
Kenya shillings. If you don't have it all at once, save it in bits and then go.
Okay. So, Daktari, CT will also give you the day's proverb. Every week, he goes to an African country, brings proverbs from that country. The last 3 weeks, this being the third, he has been in landlocked countries of Africa. We've been asking people to tell us landlocked country in Africa. So, don't say Uganda, don't say Sudan, don't say Rwanda. Those ones have been said. Which other one?
Zambia.
Ulikuwa unafanya homework.
Alipita geography. You don't people studying geography. He passed his geography.
Very well.
Yes.
Very well.
Unlike some people happily tell you, landlocked, South Africa, you realize, okay. Yeah, this person didn't quite do geography very well, but at least it's a country in Africa.
At least even Stanley Livondo knows Zambia is landlocked.
And he also knows they have a military hospital.
He built it after all.
Yes.
Touche.
Okay. The proverb. This is one of the richest countries on the planet in terms of natural mineral wealth, and it's one of the poorest. If you're looking at poverty as the number 1 poorest, number 2 poorest, them number 3 poorest
in the world.
World. And they say it is one of the worst countries for young people to live in. The Human Development Index said this country here, if you're young, you have a problem. Anyway, why don't we look at the proverb?
Or the country?
For the country.
You still haven't said the country.
The country is called Central African Republic. Most countries are called Kenya. Then you say the Republic of Kenya.
Yes.
This one, they didn't wait for you. They told you themselves. The Central African Republic. Yes. If you show off your strength, battle will find you.
If you show off your strength, battle will find you. What's your interpretation of this?
I want to look at it from the vanity perspective. Yes. If you spread yourself out there in vain, I think you'll have haters. That's my perspective.
You put it very well. Right.
Haters will follow you.
You flaunt it and see.
Flaunt and haters come.
Yes.
Haters come hate.
Yes.
Nice one. That's a good one. There was some interesting news item about 2-3 days ago everywhere. Let me read one from the Star. Nakada warns alcohol uptake through rectum is dangerous. The National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse has warned that the uptake of alcohol through the rectum poses health complications. CEO Anthony Omerikwa said recent media reports show alcohol enemas has allegedly been adopted by Kenyan youths. Alcohol enema, also called butt chugging or boofing, is the introduction of alcohol into the body through the rectum. In a statement, Omerikwa said the trend poses enormous health risks and called for urgent inquiry by relevant stakeholders into the trend. Compared to other methods of consumption, this route is extremely dangerous and poses a significant health risk due to very rapid absorption of alcohol into the bloodstream, he said. In contrast to traditional methods of consumption that allow the body to metabolize and regulate the intake, alcohol enema bypasses these natural defenses.
Yes.
Ati, what is that?
I'm just surprised that we had to say that it was dangerous in the first place. I mean, one would assume that it would be from the very beginning.
What is that?
And that the fact that you have to say that this is happening, that means one of two things are happening. That there is a rise of this behavior,
yes,
and that there is ignorance to the fact that it is dangerous.
What is this behavior, first of all? I'm still stuck on that.
I'm dumbfounded.
Chugging from the other side.
You take alcohol. So how do you...
I'm completely
Do you bend over? Does somebody hang you upside down? What's happening here?
Dr. What's happening?
I think this space is pretty new. And the purpose of our news item and article that we put out there is two. Number one, to diminish the sensationalization of it. If you look at when it broke out in the news and read the after comments, these young people think like it's something that is cool to do. So number one, we wanted to tell them this is not something cool. Number two, secondly and most importantly, is the danger of it. Most of these young people do it to conceal the smell of alcohol. Anecdotal evidence has shown that this has started within schools, so that they go out for a music festival and they soak it in alcohol in tampons and introduce it that way. Many people have come out to say that they've been doing it, and surprising as far back as 2 years ago, one individual said that they started doing it in 2022, right after towards the end of COVID. And indeed, this is dangerous in so many ways. Number one, the risk of infection. Number two, you don't control the content. You know, as you imbibe, and I'm not advocating for this, but as you drink your beer, other mechanics of metabolism come into play. Number one, you can take so much beer because it fills you up, and that acts as a moderating aspect of the ingestion. Number two, because of the covert way in which these people want to administer this, chances are, and if you look at the demographics of the people who are doing this, chances are they'll look for portable alcohol. And this portable alcohol, as you know, and as the government has been fighting, a big number of them is contraband and illicit. Therefore, you don't even know the content, alcohol content in them. Thirdly, and most importantly, is the fact that when you administer it that way, the effects are faster.
Okay.
And your impairment comes very fast.
Okay.
And it predisposes you to all the dangers that come with immediate inebriation. Yes.
Okay. So that was another question then, Dr. because essentially, we're not just... I'm not saying we. People are not just doing this because it's cool, but you can actually, you get inebriated much quicker, and one would assume that it's absorbed into the system, so it hangs around much longer. The feeling of highness essentially is why this is being done.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's being done, because of the instant high. Secondly, the demographics of the people who are doing this are people who can't sit on the table and take the alcohol. And if they could do that too, there's a fear of their guardians smelling it off their breath. Yes. So it's a way of administering it without being detected. Yes.
So you're saying it's children who are basically doing this. Mostly you'll find it among the younger population.
Yes.
How did it start? Is it common practice globally? I mean,
it is a global phenomena, but in other jurisdictions, they're normally events driven by the psychic and euphoria of groups when they are partying. But in Kenya here, I think we can trace it within the teenage population, and mostly those people who are in schools. In the first instance, and this is a told story about one of the users, as told by the parent, it started when they went out for these school activities. And one of the ways in which the chaperones and the teachers get to know whether these people have taken alcohol is they smell their breath. So this was an innovative way of concealing that breath of alcohol. Getting a fast high, because the period of administering this alcohol through the enema is short, so that they can get a quick high out of it. Yeah.
Are there long-term effects?
There are a lot of long-term effects. And that is why I agree with you. I mean, some of these long-term effects can only be known if you check yourself into hospital to have them checked. But the biggest effect of this is it leads to addiction, number one. And you know very well addiction is a family disease. The person using who's addicted and the family who take care of the person. Secondly is the issue of impaired thinking, which gets these people to make decisions that endanger them more. Finally, and most importantly, is the danger of that immediate high. You know, for example, if you are operating machinery, it can cause accidents if you take it up that way.
How did you get to know that this was happening?
Thank you very much. As Nakada, we are present in the social spaces, and our first encounter with this was actually in social media. Then through our teams, our surveillance teams, we further probed to get to the bottom of it, and that is how we came to the realization that this thing truly exists. Yes.
Okay. So usually, like you said, it would be an event. There'll be a concert, something, and that is when it would happen. But obviously, if it's become a worry point here, then you have more folks who are doing it where? From the comfort of their homes, continuing with this, because again, if you're at that age demographic, you're not going to be comfortable with your parents, guardians, knowing that you are, ingesting alcohol. So are we seeing the practice being then taken away from events to other areas where now this continues?
Yes, I'll explain it using the continuum of addiction. How do we get addicted? We don't just wake up one day and decide, today I want to get addicted. There's the experimentation part of it. And what causes addiction is a desire to relive that moment that you encountered when you took your first drink. And the induction spaces at these events. But what happens after the event? You just want to get the same high that you got when you tried it the first time. So it moves from that party environment to the comfort of your room. Yes.
You know what is of interest is, as you're speaking, I was actually looking up something, and the thing that I came across was why the rectum is a problem. You see, the rectum and the colon are full of blood vessels. Now, the thing about alcohol and why it affects you, that it gets into your bloodstream.
Yes.
But when you ingest it traditionally, what happens is you give other parts of your body the opportunity to do the work they do. Like the liver breaks it down. So the effect is slowed down. But when it's injected directly into your bloodstream, it's fast. And the effects last longer and they're much, much speedier. And the damage, the mitigating circumstances that other part of your body would ordinarily have doesn't exist. But this comes to me with this question. The experimentation bit I understand. Peer pressure and people doing something because others are doing it, I also understand. What I don't understand is that if there is a willingness to experiment with something that is absolutely unconventional, what else are our young people experimenting with? Because this drug is called alcohol. There are other drugs which are not called alcohol, and from what we read have far greater consequences. The aftermath is horrendous. The effects are almost irreversible. This landscape that we've now entered, how vast is this and how dangerous is it?
To tell you the truth is, it's very dangerous. And as the government pronounced itself to this, I think alcohol and drug abuse is a third threat to the survival of this country. Not only in its nature as alcohol, but also in its effect of what people who are using these drugs and alcohol would do, both to themselves and to the public. Your question is very pertinent, and it segues into the topic of today about synthetic drugs. Alcohol is the most abused drug, but there are other drugs that are equally being abused, and some of these drugs that are abused are available. They are licit and not illicit. And synthetic drugs are those drugs that are created to mimic the effect of actual drugs. Now, you saw a couple of years back that codeine became the drug of choice for very many youth. Yes. Because you could buy it over the counter.
A cough syrup.
It's a cough syrup, yes. So within this universe of drugs, there are a couple of things that will determine which drug gets abused. First of all, it's geography. If you look at prevalence of alcohol and drug abuse, you find that the leading areas that use illicit drugs is Western Kenya. But that has a cultural component to it, because busa is normally a drink that is culturally made. Yes. If you go to a different part of the community, different social classes, you find that in the urban areas, the youth would prefer to use codeine because it's accessible. They'll go for portable alcohol because they can buy it and conceal it. The government has put in place a very formidable strategy to to suppress the supply of drugs within the country. The known drugs, the cocaine, the heroin. And because of this, there's a high proliferation of this synthetic form of drugs. And one of the natural drugs that has become very common is cannabis that is used. Now, why do people go for these drugs? Like I said earlier, once you get inducted to it, there's that feeling that you get that you'll always want to catch up with. And in the process, you get addicted to these substances. And peer pressure is one of the key pull factors in this space. Secondly, the stress levels. And I'm not excusing that this is a solution to relieving stress, but people are pushed into this drug addiction and drug use because of life stresses. And that is why the psychosocial support is very important at the formative ages of these young people, despite the fact that some of these drugs are abused by even the older people. Yes.
Let's take a break. This conversation continues shortly. Today we are discussing the emerging threats of synthetic drug use and abuse in this country. And we're joined by the CEO of NACADA, Dr. Antonio Merikwa, to discuss this. First, we'll need to understand what are these synthetic drugs. So how are they available to people? What's the government doing to curtail their availability? And what are the effects that people should avoid using them? 29 minutes after 7, keep it here. We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast. Now, by the way, see, I thought you are... No, I know what you are thinking. Makwiny, you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital? They have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information. Good news! Good news for the soccer lovers across Kenya. Very soon your lifestyle will never be the same. Crazy memories of the lively football matches.
Happening every week.
Introducing the new season of the English Premier League football matches.
Another gem of a goal!
Starting on the 16th of August 2024, exclusively on Spice FM. Catch the upscaled, heart-throbbing season's football commentaries from the ever-zealous soccer commentators and presenters. EPL, Soka Katambe. Only on Spice FM.
The weather with Spice FM.
Mostly cloudy in Nairobi this morning at 12. We'll see highs of 23 and highs of 24 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 16. It's 13 and cloudy in Nyeri, going to highs of 20. And we'll see highs of 22 in a partly sunny Eldoret at 14. In Kisumu, it's 23 degrees. We'll see, Mombasa is 23 degrees, going to highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 as well. In a partly sunny Malindi at 29. It's 19 in Kisumu, going to highs of 28, while at 17, mostly cloudy in Kakamega with highs of 28. Into Johannesburg, it's clear at 9 with highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Mogadishu at 26. Lagos is cloudy at 25 with highs of 29, while into Kinshasa at 20, we'll see highs of 30, back down to lows of 20.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, we're getting into traffic hour at this time. Still seeing a lot of traffic on the Thika Superhighway. Into the CBD is also where a lot of the action is moving this morning. Ngong Road is not looking too bad, but Kangunda Road, totally different story. They're touching on Outer Ring. We're going to have some traffic for a little bit. Also on Manyanja Road, you're going to cross over towards Jogo Road without an issue, but there's traffic as you get out towards Landis at the roundabout. We're going to keep an eye on things, talk to us as well. And there it is, North Airport Road, busy with traffic. Some of that spillover going towards the Outer Ring Junction, and the Eastern Bypass also packing up. Let's talk Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, 27 minutes to 8. So with our younger population, the use and abuse of alcohol and all these other substances is actually shifting. Because a couple of years, when Nakado was established, it was still the bigger threat was alcohol. And then we had cigarette, bangi, and the drugs. What we know as drugs were not as much. Now we're seeing the trend is growing on the use of synthetic drugs. So what are these synthetic drugs? What are synthetic drugs?
Thank you, Latif. I just want to allay some thought that synthetic drugs are new. And let me start with this old adage that says necessity is the mother of invention. The use, production, use, and distribution of synthetic drugs dates back as far back as the end of the First World War, the Great War, which became the First World War. After the First World War, very many war veterans came back with a lot of injuries. And one of the medications that was used to suppress this pain was morphine. So in the 1920s, we had a lot of what we call the morphine derivatives, which was also synthetic. As you know very well, morphine is a narcotic analgesic, which is used to suppress very severe pain. So within that period, there was an abuse of morphine, and it morphed into very many forms. Yes. It was also very amorphous. You could find it in different forms and flavors. In the 1920s. And a lot of work was done to deal with that phenomena. Then in the 80s, we got the fentanyl. Yes, and it was commonly known as the fentanyl analogs, because within that fentanyl consumption, you could find it in very many forms. 10 years later, in 1990, we went into the space of amphetamines. You heard about the crystal meths. Then 30 years later, in 2010, 2020, we have the new psychoactive substances, call them the NPSs. Now, synthetic drugs are made from precursors. And these precursors are normally illicit drugs. Somebody creates a cocktail of codeine, something else, just to mirror the effect of drugs like cannabis. Yes. And broadly, if you look at this, synthetic drugs broadly, because of how they impact the brain receptors, I can broadly put them into categories of cathinoids and cathinoids. Yes, on how they impact the brain. But generally, if I put them within the mainstream of the different type of drugs, I can call them amphetamines, where an example is methamphetamine. We have the opioids, where fentanyl falls, and natural opioids are like heroin and cocaine. Now, why the proliferation of synthetic drugs? Number one, detection, mixed in a lab to create the synthetic.
Nico.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, please go ahead.
Thank you. Another thing that makes this thing very elusive is because it's not plant-based. You cannot do supply suppression at source. Today you can go to Afghanistan and scorch earth the poppy fields. For the synthetic, there's no geographical location where you can associate with the source of the synthetic drugs, like you do with cannabis. Today, if you ask somebody where cannabis is grown, they can roughly give you the geographical location. Yes. Thirdly, and most importantly, it's the risk factor that comes with synthetic drugs. And the risk factor is twofold components. There's no control on the effect they will have on the receptors and the aftermath of that effect. Secondly, the dangers of other elements that are introduced to the synthetic drugs to make it not only potent and also marketable. Earlier in the year, you saw us fighting against shisha, and I don't want to go into details on that because there's a court matter on it. But it was not the shisha we were fighting. It's the stuff that introduced in those shisha, most of which was synthetic, that portends a risk. And that is why before we get to that space, we need to have standards for such products as shisha. And that's a journey we need to walk as a country.
Indeed.
Yes.
So when you talk about standardization, it's a painstaking process, isn't it? Because here you're looking at the known substances, these ones you already know, the methamphetamines and the fentanyl that we talk about, and all of these things finding their way into the country. If the ones that are here already, and that would be under some kind of legal umbrella, even for those, the standardization of those has not been done to the point whereby it would be okay. And when we talk about illicit alcohol, for example, and that's just under the guise of what is already allowed in the country, what would that process look like to then be able to say, look, class it, and now let that have a standard under which it can or cannot operate? Will it be declared illegal completely? Should it be declared illegal completely? And if you were to go into that process, how then do you ensure that it's actually off the streets? Because black markets thrive in the illegality of something. How then would that happen?
Thank you very much. That is why I'm here. This is part of advocacy. And the fight against illicit alcohol and drugs must be fought by everyone in the country, because this affects every fabric of society. If you look around, at least there's a family that has been affected by this alcohol and drug issue. Now, as a country, we are very clear on what alcohol is licit and what is illicit. Kenya Bureau of Standards has standards for all alcohol that is allowable to be consumed in the country. Unscrupulous business people have opted to bring on board illicit alcohol. Latif, you'll be very surprised that Kenya Bureau of Standards has standards on even some of this traditional brews. It's only that people have not achieved that standard to be able to produce it commercially. Yes. There are so many risks that comes out of producing this illicit alcohol out of the standard. Yes. Yes. And one of the issues why we have standards is to control. And one vital thing is alcohol content. Yes. It must be calibrated. It must be measured.
You must know
the
volume of alcohol in this, what you're taking.
And it must be produced in a certified healthy environment.
What I wonder, sorry, no.
Go ahead.
What I wonder, Daktari, is like you've explained to us. So, when you're talking about these synthetic drugs, it is drugs that are being manufactured somewhere in a lab. Bring some, legal drugs, come create this concoction and create a new substance that is now becomes the drug, the synthetic drug. Is this being done in Kenya, or are they coming as already manufactured synthetic drugs? Is there production of synthetic drugs in the country?
Thank you very much. Let me go by data that we have. In 2023, at the airport, we confiscated nearly 3 kilograms of methamphetamine.
Last year?
Last year, yes. And we are still in a discovery space of these synthetic drugs. Like I said, it doesn't have a face. And our detection process has even been impeded by what I call poly users. Your average partying individual in Kenya might start with codeine, take some mirror, go into alcohol, and finish with cannabis. It complicates the detection process, such that
this is in one sitting.
In one sitting, I call them poly users.
Okay.
People start with cannabis, they finish with alcohol, and in instances of overdose, it is very hard to detect what the cause of that was, and that is why we are doing a lot of advocacy to our citizens and our young people that the drug space, number one, has been proliferated by unscrupulous business people. So be sure of what you're taking.
Okay.
Even if it comes to alcohol.
So are they being manufactured here, or are they being brought into the country?
Most of the synthetic drugs are made from precursors, which are available locally. You see, and people use different precursors to come up with these synthetic drugs that are being used. Now, to give you an example, in Kenya, we've only detected 2 types of synthetic drugs, which is methamphetamine and ecstasy. Yes? It doesn't mean that it is not prevalent because of the challenges I'm telling you about detection. Yes.
So how does the CADA do? When you say that, there is an emerging threat of these synthetic drugs, but you have challenges of detection, you have challenges of even knowing what kind of precursors have been used and so on and so forth, how does the CADA know that there is an emerging threat?
You see, the government has adopted a 3-pronged strategy, which is it has adopted from best practice. What I'm doing here is what I call prevention. Lati, the fact that I'm having this conversation with you, telling you that there's people use alcohol through enema, there exist synthetic drugs, is the beginning of the preventive conversation. The second part of it is the treatment part, and that is a space where we do a lot of discovery and data collection. We'll only know the after effect. If you do it very discreetly, we'll only know the after effect or whether you're using these drugs through the medical treatment space.
So do you have that capacity as NACADA to liaise with health centers, health facilities and doctors to know that there's an increasing number of people who are coming to facilities exhibiting these symptoms?